Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 460. Coming at you. I'm with Johnny V.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for introducing me. Do I need to introduce myself? Some podcasts do that. Some people are like, I'm Terry Miller. And then somebody else would be like, I'm John Van Derzen. We're 460 in. We should probably nail these little intricacies down.
I don't know about that. I think we skipped some of that.
We did. We skipped general generic podcasting school. I'm really happy though, because I can say podcasting school now without any plosives. I got a new pop filter over here on my microphone.
And that's largely because you're such a K-pop fan?
Well, yes. I'm like BTS. They're my fave.
That figures. They're my
faves.
That's exactly why they're all here, is because they knew you would be. Tonight, super cool guest that's going to join us literally in just a few moments. We're going to have one Parker Welck, our newest winner on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We'll break down what we saw from the DDO this weekend. Some international action taking place, some PDGA things going on, and then we are just a few days shy of the 2023 Des Moines Challenge, of course, taking place over there in Iowa. So, no point in effing around, because this guy doesn't. He just goes out and gets it done. Welcome to the show, our champion from the Dynamic Disc Open, Parker Welck. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. What's up, guys? How are we doing today?
Not too bad.
Not nearly as well as you, I think. I had to go out and I had to follow you on Instagram. I'm sure I'm one of thousands of other people now that have done that. And, you know, I have to keep up on Instagram with all the pros. And I'm sorry to say, yours wasn't on the list before this weekend. I'm sorry.
You better recognize, Johnny. How does that feel? I saw you make a post talking about new followers, new fans, and the support. What has been the outpouring been like for you?
It has been just wild. There has been so many different people just leaving me all sorts of messages. I got through my Instagram list today, and then I opened Facebook, and then it's just boom. Just it's so incredible how all these comments they're all positive. There's nothing negative to say about me, and it just fills my heart with joy, and it's super special to me.
They don't know you yet.
Yeah, by the time we're done tonight, we'll get some hate.
We'll get some negative comments on you. Do you know, out of curiosity, do you know about where your Instagram was before the weekend versus after the weekend? Oh,
yeah, I was about 1,000 followers for the weekend.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, you're here.
Yeah, you're just for some reason you're a little bit choppy on us, but I think we got you.
Yeah, you should be all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was at about 1,000 followers.
With winning comes these responsibilities and or opportunities, however you want to word it, including a ton of new followers, lots of messages to reply to, extra media attention that you are getting pulled in directions for, extra sponsorships may or may not be popping off, and people reaching out. What's been the most surprising thing that you've seen or read or heard or been approached about? Has there been anything like wildly surprising in all of that melee?
Not really.
Okay.
There's nothing that's like really like thrown me off. There's been a ton of like funny comments though. I went through like the Reddit because my homie Jake was telling me about there was some Reddit comments, so I went through it and I clicked on one and it was like this kid doesn't even win local C tiers or something like that. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, skipping some of those, kind of those building blocks that most of the time we see people doing, C tiers, B tiers, A tiers, silver events, those are kind of the natural progression of how sometimes people come up.
Not anymore, bro.
You just show up.
Gannon Burr, right to a major practically.
Yeah.
Parker Welck, right to the Elite Series.
What? Yeah. Well, okay, let's just backtrack because we haven't had you before. When we get brand new people, especially with your freshness to the scene for a lot of people, let's start with some of the basics, such as, you said you were born and raised in Hawaii, but tell us how you got introduced to disc golf and like what the story is with you and your family and playing disc golf.
Yeah, so I think my mom mentioned to you, I'm not sure which date it was. It was either like second or third, that they went out to a disc golf course before they got married. They just, I guess that's what they did. And so my dad's been a disc golfer for quite a long time. And I was pretty much born into it. He would always go up to, we have a course called Poli Poli. It's on Haleakala Mountain in Maui. And he would always go up there. It's about an hour and a half drive from our house. And I just, tag along, 4 years old or something, ripping sidearms up and down the volcano there, and it was just, it's always been around. It's always been there for me.
And when you guys would go out and play, now it's you and your brother. You have a brother named Austin, right? He's a little bit younger?
That is true.
And
He's
then your
older.
mom,
He's 2 years older than me.
oh, 2 years older. Okay. And then your mom's a golfer. And so we're, of course, the Hawaii tournament scene's a little different. It's not nearly as robust overall. But talk to us about what it is like playing in Hawaii. And then, can you describe it? Can you compare it to anything else that people maybe are used to here in the States, in the rest of the States? Sorry.
Yeah, so we all kind of play. My brother's actually a fantastic disc golfer, but he just doesn't play. But the Hawaii scene it's much different. They have something called the HDGA, the
Okay.
Hawaii Disc Golf Association, instead of the PGA. And they do like their own local stuff. There's nothing rated about it. It's kind of just, you go out there and may the best man win. But it's pretty cool. And growing up, I did play a bunch of those events. We always had like our junior things with like me and my 4 other friends or something like that were in the same grade, and I would always smoke them by like 50 strokes or something like that. It's it was really cool growing up there. The courses they're all different. We have on Maui, we have Napili Park, which is I think it has 8 baskets, but it's an 18-hole course that you kind of just play it around one side and then play it back on the backside, and then which is fun. It's super short. Every hole's like 200 feet. And then that's the closest one to my house, or my old house. And then we have KCC in Kahului, which is it's like on a beach. Honestly, it's just sand everywhere. It's different. All the tee pads are rubber. They're a little bit messy. And so when I go back and play those courses, I'm just like kind of thrown off a little bit because we're so spoiled playing on the Disc Golf Pro Tour with all these sharpened tee pads, and everything is great out here. But I wanted to leave this one for the last because it's the best. We have a course called Poli Poli up in Haleakala, which is the main course I feel on Maui. It's on privately owned land, so you won't find it on UDisc or anything. But it's the course with the best view on Earth. You won't find a disc golf course with a better view than what that course offers. The tee pads, same deal. They're kind of just rubbery, a little bit slippery, maybe rough, broken, but the holes are spectacular. There has been so much work put into that course throughout the years, and all the baskets are homemade, and the sound they make with the chains, they're a little bit heavier, and I will never forget the sound of those baskets. It's a bittersweet feeling knowing I can always think about that and go back to kind of my roots.
So I have to ask, and I do not want to get too far sidetracked on this, but since we're right here with it, there's also a gentleman who loves to promote and talk about that course, and then loves to stir up a lot of drama online because he talks about how everyone should go play it. But then, as you just said, it's private, and I think certain permission is needed, but people can play, but yet it's not officially marked in some ways. And it sounds like there's a lot of really particular circumstances around it, as amazing as it is. And this gentleman loves to just like blow it up and create all this drama over it like 24/7. And it feels like he's calmed down in the last few years, but you know who I'm talking about, right?
I think I know of the name if you were to tell me the name, but I don't think I've ever met him,
Okay.
and I do hear about him. But yeah, I mean, it is private, and you have to respect it. That's a
Okay.
lot of the Hawaiian culture. You need to be respectful, and I'm not sure if that's disrespectful by saying, come and play it, but also you got to think that it should be private based on how much time those locals have put into it, and it should be their prized possession. You should ask permission to go play it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
and
gonna say if you're
I'm backing all of that.
yeah.
I'm backing all of that up. I totally agree. It's just this ongoing drama, and he's gotten into fights with plenty of people online and everything else about it. And I continue to see, because that's what I've been told, is that there is all this respect and these particular things that go along with it. And he wants to continue to blow it up like everybody on the planet should be there playing, and it's their God-given right because he thinks it's great and everyone should be there. And it's like, no, it sounds like there's some nuances to it, and let's just be respectful of that. That seems to be the part where he disconnects. But anyway, again, we'll move on from that. But it's you're one of the few people that actually has this direct insight into Hawaii disc golf. So you guys as a family though all moved to HB or to where in California? How does HB get the connection and so on? How does all this tie together?
Well, actually, HB is just me and my wife.
Okay.
My right when I moved out from Hawaii, it was my dad and my mom and my brother stayed back. And my dad had his business that he was doing out in California, so he was flying back and forth, seemed like every other week, and that's a lot of flying to do from Hawaii. So he decided to kind of just get out to California. I followed him there. I was tired of kind of being on a rock there for a little bit. I wanted to see the world, so I went to California, and with that, I started going to college, and I started meeting friends, and I started to pick up disc golf a little bit more with West Coast Disc Golf and Jeff and Ryan Spohr at the Huntington Beach shop. They've helped me like crazy throughout my disc golf journey. But it wasn't up until I got married and moved in with my wife Allie that I'm claiming Huntington Beach as my home, because that is where we live now.
Okay. Okay. That all makes perfect sense then. Um, what's your tour been like this year? I mean, of course, we've seen you at a few events. I've got another follow up to that in a moment. But what's your tour been like, and how did you structure your tour for 2023? Maybe that's the best way to start this.
Well, kind of Silver Tour Path, I was able to sign up for all the silver events or Elite Series events. So I picked the four probably hardest ones to get into, got those, and then all the silver series I signed up for, except for like New York and Canada, I believe. And then I was able to sign up for all the other Elite Series just based off of rating. So I was able to get into pretty much everything. So my friend Jake and we have a truck and a pull trailer that we're hauling throughout the country, and we're having fun doing it.
And when you speak of Jake, that's what, Jake Brown?
Jake Brown, yes.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting and filming Jake back in Arizona earlier in the year, and I obviously saw and learned of his skill sets at that point, and he was right out there. I think he was the loudest of your entire fandom out there, including even louder than your mom for the weekend, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool to see him out there and to support me. Neither of us have been in any situation like that before, so it was cool that he was there.
It really sounds like if you want to win an event, you tour with a guy named Jake. Last week we had Evan Scott on, who tours with Jake Mon.
Yeah.
This week we've got Parker Welck on, who's touring with his Jake. This is great. Everybody just get themselves a Jake and you'll be winning on tour. So I brought up earlier following you on Instagram, and I want to ask before we kind of get into a little tournament stuff, Disc Goat? That is your handle?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, thank you for asking about that. Thank you so much for asking about that.
Explain.
Yeah, please explain it to me.
I think I was what was I? I was Westside Howley at first. Howley is like a term you use in Hawaii for like foreigner. And obviously I'm white, so I'm not Hawaiian. So I was the West Side Howley, and it was kind of catchy. And I moved out to California, changed it to Cali Howley, which is, it sounds weird, but it was cool. Like my Hawaii crew and friends and stuff. And then I was like, dang, dude, I think I want to take disc golf seriously. And so I was like trying to come up with like disc golf names and stuff. And I was like, disc goat. How is that not taken right now? Click, save me.
Wow. It wasn't
bold.
I say it wasn't taken because that's a bold, ballsy statement to go with. Like, oh yeah, goat. Like, it's one thing. You're like, oh, maybe you were saying I'm from Hawaii. We had a bunch of goats. It kind of rung together. But no, it's like, cool. I am the disc goat. That's who I am. That is a
No.
that is a place that I know you're not saying that, but that is a place to strive to. That is quite the
foreshadowing, precursor
would be a good word that you're looking for.
How much, as a side note to that, how much does social media, how much does the internets and the Reddits and the Facebooks and all that stuff, even before this weekend, how much of that is within you? How much stuff do you pay attention to?
Well, for me, it's basically only Instagram. And it's been cool to have a photographer on the Disc Golf Pro Tour so I can actually post things. Because if you go down through like my feed, it's like just horrible pictures and nothing professional. So having that is really cool, and it makes everything seem a little bit more professional as well. So I'm happy for that.
Yeah,
And
Kevin and everyone
I'm
else.
not meaning to call myself the great.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not meaning to call myself the greatest of all time. I don't think that'll ever be accomplished by me, but and I think Paul Macbeth is the greatest of all time, for sure, and I don't think I would ever take that away from him.
How does it come about? So when you start thinking about taking disc golf more seriously, how does Prodigy come about? How do sponsorships and touring, like, what are those conversations like to get you to where you were ready to go out this year?
And what is that conversation like with your wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were asking me some awesome questions. Thank you. I guess I'll start off talking about my wife here real quick. We're brand new. We just got married last October in Hawaii, and so we're a brand new couple. And this is our first year of marriage, and we're apart. So it's really weird, but also we are so strong together. And I can always go back and visit her whenever I want an off week, and she is amazing, and I love her so much. But what was the second part about that question? Sorry, I got to thinking about Allie.
The idea of like going on tour, sponsors, like making this career move and decision.
Oh, you guys will like this. I actually started, I think it was, so a year and a half ago, we'll call it 2 years. I started sending out sponsorship offers, and nobody wanted me. Everyone, and at the time I was like just over 1,000 rated. Nobody wanted me. I wanted to be on Discraft, and I did their underground team rejection. I messaged every company. You name a company, and I messaged them, and I got rejected by them, including Prodigy. And Prodigy Street Team is actually the specific thing that I wanted, because I didn't think I was good enough to be an actual sponsored player. So after getting rejected by every single company, I still continued to play. Didn't have it in me to quit. And I think what did it for me was I played Masters Cup. And when I played Masters Cup, round one, I played with Gannon Burr. And on Gannon Burr's bag was Mark Anderson, the Prodigy CEO. Mm-hmm. And I played my game. I played very well for that tournament. Of course, day law is just very difficult. But I think Mark kind of saw something in me, and he came up to me the next day, and he wanted to talk to me, and I think he really took a liking to me, and the bond we had from seemingly the first time we met was just it was cool. He's such an awesome dude, and he said he wanted to talk next week at OTB Open, which was the next tournament. And so I went to OTB Open, and he wanted to meet me on like the bleachers after the final round or something. So we went to the bleachers, and Gannon was there, and he kind of just went to go putt off on hole 18 while we were talking, and he said he wanted to offer me a sponsorship, and I was blown away. Not nobody wanted me, and then here he comes offering me a contract, and I was just blown away by the guy. Top notch dude, and yeah, so that's how Prodigy came about, and ever since then, it's just been kind of Prodigy's awesome. Everyone on the team seems like, especially after this past week, we're all boys. It's really cool.
They want to hang out with the coolest kid, the Slayer out there.
Start wedging your way into those Alden vlogs. Be like, hey guys, I'm a Prodigy winner too.
This is something I didn't have the right way to fit in, and it was really truly a timing thing. One of the times I remember seeing your name this year, and you maybe know where this is going, was when I thought you maybe missed a few holes and then had a terrible round and then shot 19 strokes better the next day. This was what, OTB just a few weeks ago. Like,
we talked about this.
I'm looking at your scorecard, and I remember being in the booth, and we talked about, like, look at this guy who's improved 19 strokes.
You were almost in last place. Is that right? You were very close.
I think I was on like second or third card out or something, just wild. And there was a dude that I played with. We were like talking about like scores and stuff, like what they wanted to shoot, and I was like, yeah, I just want to get back to like even. I'm fine with eight under today. And then he like looked at me and he like totally scoffed at me, and he's like that's never gonna happen, man. He didn't say that, but I knew that's what he was like kind of talking about. Ended up shooting an 11 down, which is way better than what I was hoping for.
It's those bottom card talks. Like, yeah, I'd love to get there. I mean, I know I've been there, and he's like, I'd like to get back to even, and everyone's like, yeah, we all would, buddy, we all would.
But what I'm gonna say, what the hell happened? How do you go from shooting an 8 over to an 11 under less than 24 hours later?
It was wild. First of all, my wife was there, and my mom and my dad were there to support me that weekend, and I guess that first round, I was going through a rough stretch of just feeling like the most unlucky player on planet Earth. There wasn't a shot that I would throw without hitting like a little limb or something to kick me just straight down or kick me straight out of bounds or anything. Like I couldn't do anything to stay in bounds or miss trees or anything like that. And I had a talk with Allie, and my wife is named Allie, and she said, just create your own luck. You don't need to be unlucky. Just create your own luck. And that's kind of stuck with me ever since she said that. And it's just a different frame of mind when you think that. It's you start playing better. And I think that's what did it for me.
That's adorable, and I love it. It's amazing. But 19 strokes, like you improve by 2 or 5 or maybe 8. Like you really turn things around, and like, man, I had an 8-stroke difference. 9, you literally over a stroke per hole average is what you improved upon.
Some days just aren't your days, man. And
some days really are.
That's right. Some days are.
Again, all in nothing but accolades. But I remember watching that and talking about it during the OTB broadcast, and I was just like, what the hell did this guy do? Did he miss holes the first day? Like what happened? So I know we spoke on Saturday night, and I said something to the effect of, what would it mean to take this down? And you said something to the effect of, I don't see that happening, or I don't know how I could do that. These guys are so good.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts Saturday night after that interview, after you're relaxing, after you're trying to gear up? Are you thinking in the back of your head, well, what if I did, or how could I do this? What were some of your thoughts Saturday night and Sunday morning?
Well, Saturday I made that post, and it really, reading that post, the caption I had was just, it made me feel like I could do it. It felt like the start of like the most underdog story ever. And And I added some music to it. "We Are the Champions" by Queen or something like that, and it was cool. And there was so many thoughts going through my head. There was no relaxing that night. Trust me. There was only stress and thoughts and no sleep at all. It was terrifying to be in that position.
Yeah, I just well, so of course Statmando, the Pro Tour, everyone then has since then as well added on to the stats about how high you were ranked, and your 10-10 rating, the lowest rating that we've seen win on the Pro Tour. All these stats that continue kind of just to unfold. What does it mean to you to have like reset a bar, maybe one you weren't intending to, but you've reset a whole new set of standards and bars for people that kind of just showed up and won? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, these guys can do it. All these guys that are near me, all these 10-10 rated guys, they're capable of shooting very hot. Everyone knows it. And I think it's really cool to bring them to a realization as well, where they're just like, hey, I can do this too. Parker did it. I can probably do this too. Yes, it's difficult, but you may have your weekend. That's just how golf is.
So I remember asking Hannah Wynn this. She finished third. Her best performance this year was at the North Cove event, and she finished third at that silver event. And I said to her, how repeatable is this? What does this mean? Is this a one weekend thing? And she essentially said, no, like I'm here and I'm ready to go now. What does this weekend mean to you? How repeatable? I'm not expecting you to win every weekend, but how repeatable is this caliber of golf and this type of result?
Yeah, I mean, I I got game. I'll tell you that. But I think that winning this year for the rest of the year is maybe out of the question, because I'm playing new courses. I've never played any of these courses before, and I've played Emporia. That's why I did well. I know that's why I did well. I was ready for it mentally. I was prepared, um, and but everything else, it's all brand new. But we'll see. I mean, if not this year, I'm winning next year. That is for sure. Now that I'm ready to go for 2024, it's game.
And what does that mean for you? I mean, you won, and now you have a tour card. You don't have to worry about next year. You don't have to be that guy that's waiting for when, like, all right, they all got in. Now I got to wait by my computer. You are locked in. What kind of relief is that off your shoulders?
Yeah, it's wild. It's very cool to have that sort of system. It does make it a little bit harder for other people newcomers to get on tour, but now that I'm past that, it's cool. I took this risk coming on tour. I'm away from my wife every week, and her and I had a conversation. I wasn't playing next year if I didn't get the tour card. I'm not coming back on tour. I wanna stay with my wife and live life together. But now I think we'll be living life together on the road for next year. So it should be really really cool and fun and all that stuff.
And she has a job; she can work remote, or you're just guys are just going to kind of get on tour and do your thing. What does that
Yeah,
look
well,
like for you guys?
we're kind of waiting right now. She's going to be applying to PA school here shortly. If she gets into PA school, I think she'll be doing school. But if she doesn't get into PA school, she's going to be hopping in with me, probably quitting her job, and just hanging the whole time.
What were your studies and interest outside of golf? I mean, you just got done saying there was a chance you would maybe go back to normal or real life, possibly non-disc golf centric life, if you didn't have this tour card next year. But what are some of the things? What's part of your background and interest?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I never really did the team sports besides baseball. But I quit baseball fairly early. Before I went to high school, I quit, and I was just individual sport based. Surf, skate, you name a sport, I pretty much did it. I have a very athletic background, but I was working as a swim instructor before I decided to quit and do disc golf full time.
Okay.
And I loved it. It was cool. But disc golf was just screaming at me, like telling me to come, and here I am.
And of course, the community, Hawaii, the Hawaiian community, and the disc golf community within already a small Hawaiian community. What's the outpouring been like in terms of people reaching out? With you being the representative that you are, what's that outpouring been like?
Are you talking about just Hawaii in general, or
yeah, well, Hawaii,
everywhere?
and like, I mean, everyone's clearly claiming and excited, claiming you and excited for your successes, and there's just got to be so much pride that's coming, because let's be fair, we haven't seen people come from the state of Hawaii to then I don't even want to say be relevant, but just tour, and we don't have a lot of those players. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah,
so you're kind of the first in a lot of those senses.
Yeah, there has been a couple guys who have kind of tried it. My dad is one of them. He actually qualified for USDGC one of the years, and I think he got like last place or something. So Hawaii's not known to breed good disc golfers, if you will. But it's cool being that guy from Hawaii. I'm that guy, and there's such a family out there that just supports you in everything that you do. And being on this podcast, actually, there's someone from a news station messaged me, and I saw the notification pop up. So we'll see what happens about a news station from Hawaii that's messaging me.
That's absolutely amazing.
It's been,
so I want to ask you about, I was fortunate enough, I got to tune in a little bit this weekend, and maybe my timing is absolutely fortuitous to myself. I tuned in on hole 9 on Saturday. When I tuned in, Kelvin was off to the right, and I think you were off a little bit. I was walking back and forth. I come walk into my TV, and I see you 50, 60 out, looking right at the basket, and I stop and I watch, and you drain the putt on hole 9 through the tree. And then maybe what could be the most iconic shot that we've seen this year, you jumping through the tree to go retrieve your disc, the V tree. Did you have that, be honest, did you have that in your head? Like, if I hit this, I'm going through that tree? Like, body-wise, obviously you have to throw through it, or was that spur of the moment?
So, first shot out of bounds, second shot out of bounds, and I'm thinking, oh no, what are you doing? There's no way I'm laying that up. I'm putting for a bogey. In my head, in the moment, I was thinking, do you jump putt this? Do you want to jump punt this? And if you airball, you're going 40 long, or are you going to float this one in with a little bit of a flex? And, you miss, you're going to stay close, but probably less chance of making it. So I just, my dad always says, just take your medicine. So I did the floaty bit, and it worked, and my disc went through it. I'm going through it if my disc went through it. So I hopped up there, and I don't really know what I was doing. A lot of people are calling it karate kick. Some people are calling it from like my surfing background, little like surf, whatever. But it was cool. It was so awesome, and to have people think of that as like the bogey of the year maybe, or the putt of the year or something. It's really cool.
Yeah, the fact that you were at that point, you had no pars, and clearly you were in trouble. The wheels were potentially, I mean, they were trying to fall off. You still ended up walking out of there with the bogey. And Johnny, give him full credit. That was like 80-ish.
Was it 80?
Yeah.
It looked 60. The camera, it's hard to tell from where my perspective was.
Yeah, it was a long range, and I kept thinking, I'm thinking in my head on the course, I'm like, oh no,
this is where it goes.
Yeah, here's where it's just gonna unravel. I mean, he's had a good round, but any hole can come out and bite you, and this is gonna be it for him. And again, you still walked away with the bogey, but yeah, pretty iconic one at that when it was all said and done. Who knew a bogey could still create so much fanfare, right?
Again, I've watched a lot of golf this year so far, and to me, that might be the shot of the year so far. Just with the putt and the after reaction, it's going to be tough to top it. That's for certain. And the other putt I think of was on the final day, was your eagle putt from the top of the hill, and your reaction to that as well. it seemed so confident. It was just kind of a little fist pump and a spin, maybe a little shrug of the shoulders, and kind of like, all right. At that point, you felt you had it in control, or I don't want to say you knew you won it, but at that point, you kind of had an idea like, I'm here. This is, we're going to run this.
I won it after that. You can't beat me after that. I was in,
wow.
The whole time I was in like 5th gear. After I hit that putt, throw me in 6th gear. You're not beating me. I was so confident. Nobody on earth could have beat me there. There was nothing. I couldn't do any wrong from there on out. It was such a weird feeling.
Which has got to be awesome, first of all, to have that, to have that that extra gear and that feeling that goes with it. Just for a moment, have you ever looked at the tape, as we'll call it? Have you ever looked at any of the film or the tape from the day before when you were near that green? Did you
Yeah.
What's your assessment there? We'll break it down for everyone what I'm referencing first.
Yeah, so it was hole 14, right?
Yep.
14 is the par 5, the one that I eagled on last day to go ahead by 1. So I threw my first shot. It was kind of chopped off to the right a little bit, but my second shot, it was like a low ceiling, so I had to do a super low line drive shot, like trying to play a little skip off the green, go like maybe 60 feet right or something short right to get a putt for eagle. And the second shot clearly never crossed in bounds up there towards where I took the putt. But there was a very confident spotter that came up and was like, "Oh no, yeah, you crossed right there, man." And we were all just kind of, "Oh yeah, okay, whatever." But now looking back at it, I feel, I don't know how I feel about it, because we made the right call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the spotter made the wrong call, but we made the right call. There's no way for us to kind of see over the hill. It definitely looked like from our position that it did potentially cross up there, and the benefit would always go to me in that situation. But I did not. I was not the one that tried to defend it or say like, no, man, I'm up here. Yeah, I was just kind of like, I was honestly bummed that it was out of bounds because it looked good, and so the spotter. I mean, I don't want to call him out on it, but it was the wrong call.
Sure.
I mean, we can only trust what the spotters tell us, especially on blind shots. It's one of the, we'll say, downsides of our sport and the way the OB works. Because there are so many times that as a player, we're guessing. Maybe it crossed this little corner of an island. I think I saw the shadow over the tree, which is over here. And if the sun is at 30 degrees, then I definitely crossed over. I mean, we've heard it all. I don't think anyone blames you for that type of thing. It's just you do what if your group all agreed and the spotter thought you crossed over, that's part of our game.
Yeah, and just know that's why I wondered if you had ever seen it. I was near it, and I was not 100% certain as to if it had crossed, caught some edge on the backside of it or not. And obviously myself, Ian, Philo, who are watching catch cams or standing right there, we have our perspective. Our opinion means absolutely nothing at that point. And so when the spotter makes the call, you've called it perfectly. That's exactly what your group would then expect, unless somebody then wanted to put up a big fight and say, no, there's no way you did. Then you guys have a different conversation. But if the spotter is giving you that, you would go with exactly as they would have instructed, and that makes perfect sense. So I don't mean any ill will toward that. But I wondered if you ever happened to see how it did unfold in that situation. So what does it mean in terms of you're touring the rest of the year? As do any plans change? I mean, you've talked about the events you're in, or you could get in and all that other stuff. Do any of your actual plans change at this point for what you were going to do versus, say, a week ago?
Yeah. I got enough points for that event to potentially sign up for Maple Hill. So that's going to be coming up here after the Preserve, the signups. So we'll see where I'm at after the Preserve. But that's the only kind of change. Oh, and the tour championships. I think I got a spot in that because I did win.
Yep, you won. I was going to say that you won, so that guarantees you a spot in the tour championship. You could go home today and still come back and get in whatever 32nd or whatever that bottom spot is. You're
from October, yeah.
Yeah, you're a guaranteed into the tour championship now with that. So that's a potential for another really, really big payday.
What of the courses, I know you were saying earlier that some of these are new to you, some you haven't played, DDO you'd been to before. What are not only some of the courses you have played, but of the courses you haven't, what ones are you most looking forward to? Or maybe that's all of them at this point.
I think it'd be a true test of myself to play Northwood Black. I mean, it's just the mean course that everyone talks about, and I haven't been to any other courses from here on out. So everything, the rest of it's all brand new to me.
How would you describe...
no wins this year, but next year, like 8 more.
Yeah, exactly. No, how would you describe your... I don't want to just say your favorite course, your favorite style of course, because now we've only seen you in a very small sample size of courses, and then you win at the DDO. That may or may not give any true indication of what's your favorite style of course. Name some courses that you're like, yeah, this is where I really love to play golf or want to play golf.
Yeah, I want to clear the table real quick. When Philo was saying, "Hey, man, he probably can't play in the woods or something," whatever he said. But Waco, man, I got 16th. That's just heavy woods for 9 holes, man.
Heck yeah, the beast is you're exactly right. That was your best performance this year on the Pro Tour, 16th, and that's nothing to scoff at whatsoever. So I agree with you. Go on.
Sorry, that was at the back of my head. Can you repeat your question?
No, we're here. We're here for it. Call out all the commentators. Call out the Jomez guys. Call out the Central Coast dudes. Call out the live guys. All of them. We've all said dumb things on the camera.
It sounds like you're.
There you are.
You're a little jumbled on us.
So go ahead and tell us the style of courses that you enjoy.
There we go. You La Mirada, right?
Yeah, you're a little you're a little choppy on us. We'll see if we're gonna send you a lesser quality signal or no signal, and you can just keep things going.
Go ahead.
But
you're good now.
Okay, now go ahead.
Yep.
Sorry.
So we have a course in La Mirada. I'm sure you guys have heard of it or seen it or even been there. But we have a course called Golden State there, where we combine the front and the back, and that is pretty much my all-time favorite course. It has a little bit of everything. Every shot shape you can imagine, you need to throw there. There's woods, there's some open bomb shots. It has pretty much everything there. So I love that kind of style, like parkish, a little bit of trees, maybe some longer shots. Honestly, every course I like.
Okay, I was gonna say, because when I think of La Mirada, I kind of think of not quite a country club, but I mean that's a little more on the open side. I mean, La Mirada is
a really nice park style golf.
Yeah, and
really nice.
It's not comparable to say an Idlewild or a Maple Hill, though, in terms of or anything in Charlotte for that matter, right? I mean, or the Beast. I mean,
no, but we're talking about West Coast golf as opposed to East Coast golf. So we don't have a whole lot of trees there. So we're working with what we're working with, and it does such a good job complementing the trees there.
I totally agree, and I do think it's beautiful. I've played there, and I would love to play there, and I can see how you love that. I'm just thinking of the different styles and just how much more compressed you are when you're in some of those fairways at Idlewild, which I'm very excited to see. What would you say is obviously you're such a killer forehand, but what's your bread and butter strong suit overall?
Yeah, I mean, my forehand, not a lot of people have that forehand. So that's definitely the strongest part about my game. It definitely gives me the best attributes, if you could say. If I was like a player, you know, my forehand would be way up high, and that's the thing that's boosting me. Also, my putting was just phenomenal this past weekend, and I have been putting a lot of practice on the putting green, trying to just dial it in, and I feel like my game is well rounded for the most part, except for like anything just I can't do. Um, did I lose you?
Yeah, just for a
say,
second.
Just say that again. What can't? What did you say there? You can't.
And anything outside of like jump putt range, I am just not too comfortable with. Backhand. I only power grip. I do not fan gripping, so it makes it difficult for me. But I sometimes just choose to go to the forehand instead.
I think that's real common these days. We've seen this more in the last 5 to 6 years than we have in the past. Players that will, from 100 to, we'll say 150, they choose a forehand to approach, as opposed to when you and I were younger, nobody did that. Everybody was throwing little, floaty backhands to get under the basket. But again, I mean, I don't have much of a power grip. I throw with a fan grip. So I think that makes it a little more comfortable for me. I would be scared out of my mind to do a 100-foot approach shot forehand. So it makes a lot of sense. This event, the DDO, now that you've won, and has there been talks? Well, I guess first let's ask your contract status. Are you up at the end of the year, or have you signed a multi-year agreement? I know your name is now going to be on the tips of people's tongues come November.
Yeah. Well, I signed for a year and a half at OTB, so this is my last year with Prodigy, until they offer me something new, or if someone else offers me. But this is my final year, and I hope to just continue to do well. Honestly, that's kind of my only thing I'm worried about, is just continuing to do well.
That's right. Put yourself in a position so that you're a wanted man in the off season, and then I guess that kind of comes back to Prodigy looking at the future. Has there been any talks? We've talked about it with every winner every week, of some sort of special commemorative disc. Are we going to see a stamp of you karate kicking through the tree on a D2 or something? I don't know. It depends on, I guess, what you throw.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I did get a text from Mark saying that they wanted to do it, but I haven't really heard anything since then. So I have no idea.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
No, that's what we're here for. We're here to put the pressure on the manufacturers to help out the players.
Pay the man his money.
That's right. Pay the man his money. And I mean, would that be strange to put like that type of print on a disc when it was a bogey? Or is that just so iconic at this point that it just doesn't matter, that everyone would know?
I think
saw
it's awesome to write bogey on it. I mean, with a karate kick.
I mean, let's put it. I'll use another maybe similar or not analogy. You throw in the pond on hole 8 at Maple Hill, you go out of bounds, and then you re-tee, and then you quote unquote ace from there for a circle 3. I know that's not how it's always played, but you do that, and then you would go on to win the tournament. Like, if that's the most memorable shot because you aced, or whatever, I'm good with that. Doesn't matter.
One last question about the tournament, and we're probably going to let you get going here. Hole 16. If it's one thing, if you listen back to the broadcast, you probably heard Terry say it about 16 times. Get on the island. Whatever you're doing, get on the island. The way you throw that mid-range or putter, the high stall shot, as Philo called it, that's quite a dangerous throw. You could easily come up 10 short. What are your thoughts on that particular shot on 16?
Yeah, so on Thursday, I lost the disc that I was going to throw on that hole for the week. Directly in the middle of the pond, pretty much. It hit that tree on the right side. But normally I'd throw like a pretty stable like fairway driver low and just kind of hit the wall in the back. But during that practice round, I threw another shot with that A5 and put it under the basket pretty much, and did that the first round and tried it again under the basket. Second round, pretty much under the basket. Third round, under the basket. So it was working. That the shot, I wasn't worried about going. I wasn't worried about going over the wall. It was just I was confident with it. There was nothing else to it. It was the shot that I wanted, and I made it happen.
Can't argue with results.
You can't.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about you putting it over the wall. I think we're worried about you coming up short. But you had just the right amount of touch. So, like we said, can't argue with the results whatsoever.
No.
What was just first of all, quick disclaimer. At some point, I promise you, and I'm so proud that I haven't yet. At some point, I'm gonna call you Peter Welck. I don't know why. I get stupid names stuck in my head. I love your name. I think it's great, but sometimes I just know I'm going to. So I'm glad I have never done it, and I don't plan to, but it might happen. But secondly, what has been the greatest correction or dumbest thing you've heard or most inaccurate statement when it comes to any of us in the media in the last 5 or 6 days? I mean, there's the post-production crew, there's the live crew, there's myself. I mean, we're all up for, being correct, but there's got to be something that was like, no, that's just dumb or wrong or not true. Like, what have you heard?
Well, I'll give it to you harsh then.
Okay.
This was my first experience with all you guys. I've never talked to any of you guys before this week. Jomez, you name it, any of them, and I have nothing but compliments. You guys are all so professional, and you made me feel so warm on the inside when you're asking me the certain questions that bring the spectators to think like, wow, this kid, he knows how to talk. He can answer these questions, and it's your questions because you know how that I can answer them instead of asking me some other hard question that I can't answer. But seriously, it's been so amazing working with. I got to do more Jomez. I did a Jomez practice round today, and it was amazing. I mean, everyone is so nice, and it's just incredible being in this position.
Well, good. I'm glad. That makes me feel good. I don't believe Big Germ didn't say something dumb that you need to disagree with.
I'm sure he did.
You just didn't hear it yet. I'm just giving Germ a hard time. No, that's honestly good. And in full disclosure, like in talking to your mother, I saw she was just beaming with excitement, of pride, of happiness and joy. You were doing your interview with Dustin, who's now watching on the board. You were doing the post interview with him, and your mom's, clarifying with me that you're 25 and that you're, how freshly married you are just, in the last year or so, and just the way you carry yourself, because you honestly, you speak as if you've been winning now for years. And that's endearing. That's refreshing. That's exciting, because you sound like a well-polished traveling professional golfer. And I think that's obviously only going to continue to bode well for you.
Thank you. I was honestly so nervous with all those interviews, and I've never done anything like it. And I was like shaking, and it hurt to me, but so I'm happy I got through it without like stuttering too much or just saying some stupid stuff. I don't know.
No, you were doing.
I think you were
great.
endeared by everybody.
Yeah.
Almost anybody that I heard and kind of interacted with this past weekend on Sunday and Monday, everybody had said, "Wow, he's so good in front of the camera already." They're really looking forward to seeing what you continue to do on the tour. But
was it weird at all thinking too, maybe that because you were so unknown, that there was this underdog tone that so many, I mean, people like Calvin, people like a lot of these players that were in contention.
No, I'm sorry, Parker, but everybody was rooting for Matty O up until about hole 9. I don't care. You're a great guy, but other than your mom, I think everybody was rooting for Matty O.
Okay.
He's been around for so long and hasn't got that win. All the online stuff was Matty O until Matty O fell off, and then it was like,
All
right, then maybe Parker. Let's see this Parker guy win.
So you crushed Matty O's dreams and his fans, but what is that like having those, all those people, see this Cinderella story, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I always love being the underdog. It's such a cool feeling because it makes winning that much more sweet. And first of all, I'm sure Calvin's not watching and he'll never see this, but I gotta say, man, he is so top notch. He is rightfully number one, and the way he just does everything it amazed me the entire time playing with him, before the round, after the round, the way he handles himself. I was very impressed with him, and I kind of just wanted to follow the way that he was doing stuff.
Yeah, and Calvin, another one of those guys who, kind of quietly jumped onto the scene, but then continued to improve and continued to, I think, win people over in whatever humorous way that he had, whether he's challenging our media crews or he's just got that dry humor and just all the different ways that he interacts. It's different, but yet it's been so successful for him. And then his results speak for themselves, obviously, time and time again. So, all right. Well, Parker, it's been incredible. We thank you so much for your time. This is always the time where we encourage you to shout out any sponsors, any accolades, any thanks, any supporters, how people can continue to support you, where they may be able to buy merch or products or sponsors or whatever. The floor is yours. Give us the whole spiel.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun talking to you guys. Firstly, thank you, Adam Hammies. I'm in his bed right now at the Airbnb because it's the only quiet room. Everyone's upstairs playing poker and just yelling right now. It's pretty funny. I'm probably gonna head up there in a sec.
Mm-hmm.
But all the comments everyone's leaving me is just, it's awesome. I love it. It's really cool. Seeing everyone being so supportive, and I know they want to support me, but I don't have anything to be supported by, I guess, until if I get this disc, then maybe get the disc. But honestly, just nothing. I mean,
okay, where should they follow you? We talked about your Instagram, right?
You got a PayPal, you got a Venmo, buddy.
No, I don't want to shout any of that stuff out.
No, but what I will say is if you don't get anything particular from Prodigy for a disc or something, work with a clothing company, get a t-shirt, talk to the Pro Tour, get something that you can at least have, work with your wife. Maybe she can do some shipping in the spare time to get a t-shirt printed out or something of you. Again, I bring up the iconic shot through the V tree. I think that could be kind of cool. And find a way for your fans to support you just anyway.
Yeah, I think I'll do that, but I'm all new to this. I don't really know what to do or where to go. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, feel free. I'm always open.
Well, and that would be maybe one of my final questions for you is what other things could you use in terms of support right now as a guy on the road? We have everything from shoes to sunglasses to bags to dry bags to disc retrievers and a million other accessories now within disc golf. If you were, if somebody was saying, man, I'd really love to get on and support this guy, here's the product I make, should I reach out to him? What are some of the things that you would entertain the idea of getting support for?
I think that support is support. So anything really. I think, I don't know, rags are a cool idea. I don't know. I mean, support, like I said, but I'm open to anything.
All right, people, if you make a disc golf product or accessory and you think Parker might fit your style or you can help him out, find a way to reach out to him. We'd love to see it happen. Got to cash in, man. Got to do it where and when you can, and rightfully so. There's no point in being shy about it.
There are so few Elite Series winners every year that we've been around for a long time. Take advantage of the opportunities that are handed to you. or that you have taken, because nothing this weekend was handed to you.
True.
Yeah.
All right, Parker, we appreciate the heck out of you, man. I can't say enough. Congrats. It's been a real honor and a pleasure to get to watch you and see you take this down. I mean it when I say these are the types of things that makes my career so much more fulfilling, is seeing people like yourself step into the scene, rise to the occasion, and I'd say jump through the door, in this case, jump through the tree to grab that spotlight and to earn it the way you did. It's something I'll never forget. So congratulations again, man, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go lose to the guys in some poker hands. I don't know how much money, we'll find out.
Well, you can afford it now.
You can now with $8,500 more in your pocket. Just remind them of that. All right, Parker. Have a good night, man.
Have a good night.
See ya.
Yeah, I would say he can afford it.
Yeah, I was just looking. For some reason, I didn't get caught up in any of the payouts, because quite frankly, I'm not sure it matters whether Parker was getting $5,500 or $2,500 or $12,000. It didn't matter because of
I'm sure it matters to him. For us at this point, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, I think the title matters so much more even. Although $8,500 clearly nothing to scoff at.
Of course not.
Johnny, read down. Well, I got it up in front of me. I'll just read them.
You have it in front of you. Go ahead and
I'll read them in front of me. We'll continue in the MPO side of things, Parker. Of course, your champion, $8,500. Kelvin Heimberg, second place, Mr. Consistency, $5,300.
He's got like
take home.
A 200-point lead in the Pro Tour standings.
He's doing all right.
He could take a nap on the next
couple
events.
Making a huge jump and getting some stuff done during that last round. Evan Smith, not to be confused with Evan Scott.
Unless you're me.
Unless you're you or me on any given weekend. So Evan Smith, though, getting it done during that final round, that bumped him up into a tie with Matty O, along with Alden Harris. Ezra Robinson finished in a tie for 6th with Ricky Wysocki. Ben Calloway also made some moves in the latter half of the event, getting into 8th. Mason Marchbanks tied with Emerson Keith and Joel Freeman. Those are your top 9 and ties, we'll call it. And on the FPO side, of course, we'll move over there. Haley King, your champion in dramatic playoff fashion. That's a whole nother story for another day in of itself, but she takes home $5,000 for first. She defeated Holland Hanley on the first hole of the playoff on hole number 16. The first hole was hole 16. And Holland came up just short, finishing in 2nd. Ella Hansen in 3rd, Kristen Tatar in 4th, Katrina Allen in 5th, Missy Gannon in 6th, Deanne Carey in 7th, Jennifer Allen in 8th, Allie Smith in 9th, and tying for 10th were Kat Murch and Holly Finley. And
Holland Hanley made the mistake twice that final day that you so obviously harp on, coming up short on the island. You just don't give yourself a chance if you can't make the island. And you need to make sure. I'm sure looking back on it, she would have rather had a 40-foot putt against that wall for a birdie, knowing that Haley was only 18 feet out or whatever that was, as opposed to having to sink from the drop zone, which looks like it's about 70.
Yeah, and even at that point, even if she converts from the drop zone, she's not guaranteed anything, obviously, because then Haley
at best
still
you're
has
moving on.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I know I said it, and I'll say it one final time for this year, that with the addition of that backstop, I mean, that's a crucial point. I'll continue to concede. With the addition of that backstop in the last few years, you just can't come up short on that island. Wow, what I wouldn't give even for somebody to buzz over the island and go over the back of the backstop. I still like that idea better than coming up short. You just cannot, because as you just said, you can't accidentally get on the island if you don't get to it. You have to at least get there. And I know we saw Kevin Smith. Wow. I don't know. There's
Smith,
a mixture. Kevin Jones, how about? Let's go there. Kevin Jones hit the pedestal. Then his ultimately came back. I get all of that. But again, get it to the island. So
I have a question
for
you.
I have all the answers.
Okay.
They're not usually right, though.
Oh, damn it. Prodigy.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Look at their team right now, and things will change come this offseason. There's no way you can keep an entire, well, I can't say no way, but it would be very difficult to keep an entire team of Parker Welck, Alden Harris. Then you've got Isaac Robinson, who is a major winner. Gannon Burr, who's an Elite Series winner and a major winner.
Cale Laviska, Ezra Robinson,
Kevin Jones, Ezra Robinson. How do you maintain that? They have the best team right now in disc golf, if you want to talk about sponsorship. If you look at how they're all finishing, everybody who came in this week, and I'm sure there's statistics you could go back and look like, oh, look, Kelvin is playing so well, he's taking podium at every event, Innova's doing good there. Discraft has such a deep team with Ezra Aderhold and Brody Smith and Paul Macbeth and now Valerie Mondahano's back, Paige Pierce, all that. I'm sure you can figure out a lot of ways. But when you look at winners, Prodigy is ahead.
Okay. I mean, again, this is no disrespect to any manufacturer, but what I immediately go to, and I think somebody was going to do this maybe on Ultra World, or they do it, some kind of manufacturer's cup of sorts. Just for the sake of your argument, let's look at the tour points, and it's just one of the many snapshots you could take. You could take 100 different snapshots. Here's one that's not that crazy. Calvin Heimberg, Innova, and I'm going down the top few people with relation to UDisc tour points. Calvin Heimberg, Innova, Gannon Burr, Prodigy, Isaac Robinson, Prodigy, James Proctor, ThoughtSpace / Clash, Varela, Discraft, Aderhold, Discraft, McMahon won't see much more of, but Discmania. Adam Hammes.
Is that official? Or
no, well, I'm just saying it injury-wise. But McMahon, Discmania, Adam Hammes, Discraft, Aaron Gossage, Discraft, Kyle Klein, who's on and off of a little bit of an injury, Discmania, James Conrad, MVP, then Alden Harris with Prodigy, Corey Ellis, Discraft, Chris Dickerson, Discraft, Cole Radalin, DGA. That doesn't scream dominance.
No, I don't.
And I know what you're saying by first place finishes.
Spock kind of nails it on the board. Is that Prodigy is deeper with potential than any other team, because, like I said, you've got every week you
deeper
walk
with
in.
Potential is an interesting phrase, though.
It really is. Because when you walk into an event, when I think of who's going to win this week, Kelvin's name always comes up.
Yeah, as it should.
Gannon Burr's name comes up.
As it should.
Isaac Robinson's name comes up.
As it
should. Those are the three that I think of every week.
Yeah, and they're leading your...
And they're for the most part leading. And when you look at who else has won, it just feels like Prodigy has all the potential right now. They have so much going on. And like I said, Discraft is deep. They have so many consistent finishers with Hammes and Barella. Like I said, Brody, Ezra. And Hammes does have a win. We know we saw him win just a couple weeks ago. It just really feels like Prodigy. What are they doing that they can find all this young talent? I don't know. Is it just a breadth of signing everyone? Because that didn't seem like it was the case when we talked to Parker. He's a 1,000 rated player. He sent it out to everywhere, and everyone turned him down.
That's 20-ish. To 2023 golf, maybe even 2019 golf. As Parker realized, 1,000 rated is no longer the threshold it used to be. It used to be an incredible one when you and I were playing, and it still is a very impressive threshold. It is no longer now like the bare minimum to get on a team. 10-10, 10-15, 10-20 feels more like the one before you start having real conversations. Everyone used to say they wouldn't even think about sponsoring you until you were at least 1,000 back in the day. Now 1,000 just is a totally different bar to get to. I'm not saying it's any easier, just it's no longer as impressive as it used to be. Compared to the players,
there's
and how
so many more players.
Exactly,
there's so more players that are above 1,000.
So for him to say that and to give us that story doesn't surprise me at all.
No, me neither.
That there was nobody like, huh? What? New guy we've never heard of? You're 1,000? Let's sign you up today. That doesn't surprise me.
It surprises me a
it
little bit.
for any player.
It surprised me a little bit that he couldn't even get on some of the street teams, because it feels like those street teams are a little bit more lax with their signings. The Discraft Underground, the Prodigy Street team. I don't think Innova has. I mean, they've got like an ambassador team, but that's a little different. And
they have like a crew team of sorts. Yeah.
I guess they do have a crew team, but just the fact that I feel like it is more and more difficult to get signed. I think I've said on the podcast before, 1020. If I weren't a 1020 rated player, I don't think I would even think about touring. Like I look at it and I say, there's no point. Now, Parker Welck, well, that's a little different. I mean, and granted, he has been escalating his game. He even said himself he was going to give it 1 year. Didn't work out this year. Too bad. And
yeah,
he hit the lottery.
But as we know, everyone also, there's so much more to touring these days that's beyond just the success of how much money you're winning. Yes. I know that's the whole point, but there is so much more to embrace and be part of today. Touring around back in the day meant you were literally living on ramen and whatever food from stop to stop. And you were probably doing very little in between those stops. I mean, you were just doing everything to barely get to the next event, to barely maybe make enough money, no matter how good you did to get to the next event. Things are definitely different. But yeah, it's it is an awesome story. And obviously, like so many others, right? Time will tell. It's so difficult to win on the tour. And for Parker to do what he did is just such an anomaly to come from where he did. And you think back to his previous finishes, not being on cards, not playing under a lot of the lights and the pressure that we've seen. Most people have to work themselves into it, as Nate Doss has said, as I think anyone would agree with. You have to build on those experiences. You usually get to a lead card and more often than not crash, right? You crash and burn because you're playing under that pressure. You're playing with a Calvin Heimberg or a Ricky Wysocki or whomever that have won all these events, and now you have all these cameras in your face. He did none of that in terms of cracking.
No, I think
that is what was so additionally impressive.
I may have said it last year about Gannon when he won USDGC 2 years ago, wherever the heck it is now. Time flies when you're old. Maybe maybe it was good that he's so green that he doesn't understand the pressures. Because you put, and I swear to God, I'm not picking on him. You put Anthony Barella in that position, a guy who has been so close for so long. Does he react the same way? You know, because there's that. I think Anthony Barella has a lot more pressure on him to win. Nobody expects Parker Welck to win.
Yeah,
nobody.
Very true.
Other than his mom. Thank you, Miss Welck. Nobody expected him to exceed Kelvin Heimberg. Now, you look at Anthony Barella versus Kelvin, you're like, yeah, AB could get this. AB could easily beat Kelvin on a 9-hole, tie it 9 holes to go. There's no reason why that couldn't happen. Nobody was thinking that about Parker. And so maybe that helps him out, that there was so little expectation on him versus some other players. It'll be fun to see if he is a name that we are more frequently saying come next year, because he even had low expectations for himself for the rest of the year, knowing that he hasn't played these courses, he doesn't have a lot of experience on them, but he was very confident he was going to win next year. But I mean, I take it back, not very confident. He was positive he was going to win next year. I believe he said it. I will win next year. That's bold again. So I don't necessarily know if I believe it, but if he believes it, that's all that matters.
That's where it all starts. All right, quickly running down. I basically did also just call off your top 10 in terms of our standings for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. This is going to matter more as our podcast wears on, so I'll just read off the top 5 in terms of what we're seeing on the FPO side for your standings. No shocker, Kristen Tatar remains well out ahead. She's got 140 points. And when I look at that, I always think, would one win by someone versus somebody else not even showing up. Will that make a difference? So I look at like a Katrina Allen. If she won an event for 100 points and Kristen wasn't there, would she still catch her if all things were perfect? And the answer is still no. And to me, that's when you start talking about how sizable a lead is. Kelvin in that exact same situation. We're like, that's like saying, like, well, even if I quadruple bogey the final hole, I still will have 2 strokes cushion. Like, it feels like that much cushion. So Katrina Allen in second to Kristen Tatar, Ella Hansen in third, and just barely, just 8 points currently over her friend in Holland Hanley in fourth, and then Missy Gannon right there in fifth, 668 points, literally like 2 points behind Holland, and Holland's 8 points behind Ella. And then Owen Scoggins does have a little bit of distance behind that. But I think of last year, Valerie Mundahano, Owen Scoggins, Missy Gannon, those 3 women were fighting for places like 3, 4, and 5 all the way up until the last event or two. Mm-hmm. And right now you're seeing similar names in those similar positions. Yeah. So there's where your standings are. Is we're roughly halfway through the season. That's why I feel like it's worth sharing some of that action.
I'm a little disappointed that the PDGA doesn't have ratings available for us right now. Because
that is weird.
There must be something goofy with
they may have been submitted and then unofficial or not official.
Because you and I had
a ratings update last week.
Yes.
So they clearly wouldn't be updated in terms of jumping onto their actual profile. But it is kind of weird that they're...
Because you and I had it wasn't a bet, but it was just a discussion about whether 1062, I think it was what it was, that Paul Macbeth shot last week, whether it would win DDO, and I said it would not. No, I said 1062 would win DDO, that I felt like the winner was going to shoot under 1062 average. I don't know what, unfortunately, without the ratings on the PDGA site, we can't we can't make that assessment.
Just for giggles, click on the live scores and stats button.
I did that as well to see if individual rounds had
individual.
So if like you look, if you have, here you have to go to MPO on this side, and here normally it would say, but it's not here anywhere.
Interesting.
Yep, it just doesn't have. There's got to be something going on. Yeah, because none of the rounds have ratings on them as far as what's going on. So we can't tell. I can only assume that I was right.
I was just going to say, I would just, in your case, assume you're wrong. That would be the smarter bet. All right. Well, with all of that, quickly also then touch on, obviously, the dramatic playoff. Congratulations. Haley taking it down. You know, she had a few funny sound bites throughout the weekend saying she felt like she played boring golf in round number 2. Round number 3, she wasn't really paying attention to the scores, didn't think she was playing that well, had no idea that she was in a playoff until after they added up the scores. Like, she literally didn't know, well, was she just inside or just outside the circle on her, what was her second to last putt? She didn't know what that would have been technically for the win. That's wild.
You and I have said it a dozen times. I understand mentally the concept that a player doesn't want to know scores because they don't want to put that extra pressure on themselves, but it is a bad decision, period. You have to be a good enough pro to be able to handle knowing what the scores are. Because if that were to, let's just say she were tied and all she has to do is make that to win versus lay up for a playoff and she goes at it and misses, it's a whole different ball game. Like, just, you have to know the scores, and it's going to come back and bite our pros more than it has with Sarah Hokum, I think twice now. You just have to do this. And if you can't, I will be the first to say it here. You can't handle knowing what the scores are, even on the last hole, then you need to have your mental game checked. You need to work on the
truth.
Yeah. You can't handle the truth, Terry.
Here is my slight variance to that. I love the idea when some of our caddies have said, "You're okay," or you should try and make this.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that. They don't have to say, "Hey, you're tied. She's 29 feet out. You're 27 feet out." Da, 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 da. You know, like, they can say it without saying it, and essentially it could come down to, you don't need this, or yeah, you should probably, you should you should try to make this, or however they want to gently ease into it. I'm not concerned if they're not like, hey, yeah,
you're right,
you're 27 under, so and so's 26 under, but they're right next to the basket. And if they eagle, and if a train leaves Cincinnati at 7, like I get you may not need to know all of that, but you should know on potentially the last part of the round, if you need to run it or not. And
I agree.
Maybe they had an extra code word that would have been in that scenario, and maybe Haley and her caddy said, you know what, unless there's something I absolutely need to know, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And what, again, hindsight's 2020, because they won, and that's what matters. But I do understand and agree with what you're saying of, it feels like you're playing with fire to not have any idea what the score is relative to second place. Second and third and fifth. Yeah. At this point, maybe none of that matters in their career.
If you know someone's running away with it, and you're in second, third, fourth, fifth, I'm with you.
But yeah, first place, staring over the second to last pot with a drop off behind it, potential roll away. I hear what you're saying. So at any rate, Haley King, your champion, Holland Hanley and Ella Hansen, 2 more women that will both get wins. Clearly, it's just a matter of what weekend. Somebody should have a pool going. I know they have their own side bet. There should be a pool, because at some point, one of them's going to win. And
do you hope that it comes down to a tie between them at some point?
Oh, and then they go into a
are they going to a playoff? Like, how brutal is that? Is that the ultimate scenario? Let's just say Des Moines suddenly, obviously they've got the side bet with the hair dye. Comes down to the last hole, Holland versus Ella, and they have to go to a playoff. What happens?
I mean, put the stakes bigger, right? Let's say their first win is actually for the Worlds, or their first win is for the Pro Tour Championship.
That's almost too much. I don't know if I'd want that.
That's wild, but I guess we'll see what happens. All right, let's see what happened. Well, I was going to say anywhere else in the country.
Nope.
What about in the world?
In the world, this was actually a kind of a busy weekend for events. Just on UDisc, you can look and see they have the DDO, which we watched, the Konopiste, which was going on the Disc Golf Network before DDO and during it.
Yep.
That men at Konopiste were playing while the women played DDO. You also had the Norwegian Disc Golf Championship and Ula. Ula is the Prodigy Discs Pro Tour, which is more or less the Finnish Pro Tour. It's all fins, up and down, super heavy field. I guess we'll start right there. Winning at the Ula was Mira Raihanen. Sorry, Mira. Miro. Sorry. I need better. My eyes are bad, honestly. I swear to God,
wow.
My eyes are like,
I'm pulling out all the stops.
I'm slowly dying. Second place was Jesse Nieminen. Third place, Uni Armanen. And fourth place, Lauri Lettinen. So that was your top. And Lauri was probably the favorite going in, loses by 10 strokes to Miro. I'm not reading too much into it. Just like, we're just like right now, we're going to talk about the Konopiste and Paul Macbeth losing to Antala by 12 strokes overall. After, on the second round, Paul Macbeth shot the course record. He comes out and just plays flat, really flat. Like you and I have a decent day flat, Terry. Where he shot, I think, a 980 rated round or something. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. But does it matter? I don't know. Probably not in the grand scheme of things.
Does it matter to whom is the question.
He's still Paul Macbeth. And you know what? He's already moved on to the next event. But winning that one, like I said, was Niklas Antala. Second place was Daniel Davidson. Third, a tie with Hjalmar Fredriksson and Jakub Samarad. I did okay there, Ter.
Nailed it.
Okay. And then finally, because I'm Norwegian, we're going to talk about the Norwegian Disc Golf Championship. Winning this one was Oyvind Jarns. Sorry. Second place was Marcus Jortoft, tied with Henrik Alland. And in fourth place was Stian Sunnes.
Wow. And look at the start to his final round there. Starting out birdieing 8 out of the first 10.
That ain't a bad way to start.
Not at all. Looks like the hottest start of all the competitors.
Yeah, he shot 9 down, and the next closest I see is 5.
Yeah, he moved up 7 spots in that final round. So, congrats.
Yep. So that was the Norwegian Disc Golf Championship. Just a lot of golf in general this weekend. In Europe, particularly, very spread out. There's a lot of talks about the European tours, and I know I've discussed it a couple weeks ago about why each tour is kind of the way it is, but we're gonna, I think, over the next couple years, we're gonna see that get sorted out. The Norwegian Disc Golf Championship on the FPO side, Anniken Steen wins this over Luke Lorentzen. And for those of you that don't follow social media, you'll know that Bradley Williams now is not defending his title at the Preserve because he is already over in Norway.
Yeah, wow.
So he neglected to try to repeat. He took this week off and next week off, and is going to
Love will make you do some wild things.
You know? What's love got to do with it, Terry? What's love the Konopishte Open. Rachel Turton takes this one down. Keep singing while I do this. Second place, Sophie Bjorkel, tied with Katie Alsalu. I should know that one because Katie's been overseas here for a little bit. Though that is your ultimate overall European thing that I'm sure I've massacred all your names, so I will not be getting a call to do commentary for them anytime soon.
Okay.
But if you want, I'll do it.
Fun. Anything else stateside that was, obviously I think there was some A tiers probably taking place. We could quickly jump through a few of those
there might
that got played
I don't really care
in
about
some
them,
places.
Terry.
Okay, well then we don't have to. I don't care.
Yeah. We talked about all the big ones. We can let the PDGA podcast talk about those other ones. That's how I feel.
Oh, speaking of, let's quickly touch on, because you heard it a few times this weekend. Yes, we will soon be having our voting for the PDGA Board of Elections, or PDGA, Board of Elections.
Board of Directors.
Board of Directors. The election for the PDGA Board of Directors. There you go. Board of Elections.
The Board of Elections.
Board of Elections.
Almost 460 episodes.
Nailing it.
7 years.
I did. I will hold back any official bias and or comments on it for now. But I did listen to all 6 of the candidates.
Ooh, who should I
vote for? You think, why would you do that?
No,
well,
you should.
I was on a 10-hour drive to Kansas, and I thought,
oh, my Lord,
I want to do this anyway.
Allie, your daughter had to sit and listen to that?
Yeah, she did. But I wanted to do it anyway, and I thought, there's no better time to do this. Now, to be fair, I think they all ranged from roughly 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and every single one of them, I was at least in 1.5 speed. So you speed that up. What did I just say? 15 to 20, whatever that is, 12 to 15-ish minutes per times 6. That's 90 minutes, whatever it was. It was perfectly fine. I listened to them all, just hammered them all out right in order. Yes, my daughter was with me. She, I think, was listening to Taylor Swift or something at that time. It was late night on Wednesday, traveling, and it was really honestly a good time to get it all in. So I was happy to do so, and I can't say this enough. Go do it for yourself.
Just tell me who I should vote for.
That's what you have to do, because I feel as if the candidates' enthusiasms, their initiatives, their perspectives, their history, their qualifications, their background, all of that is pretty well on display and brought out within these interviews. And it's a relatively short time frame, but all of them kind of started with some form of a background, and then they went on from there, talked about different statements and different initiatives, projects, things, platforms, those types of things. I think it's a really, really good chance. Of course, you can go out and just read stuff too that I know is all out there on the PDGA website. But hearing some inflection and excitement and tone and all that other stuff that goes with it. Grant Zellner from the PDGA did it. He always does a phenomenal job with everything he touches. So I would go out and recommend it.
Good. I think everybody should go and listen
we have
to that.
6 candidates that we are ultimately going to have 2 board members, and currently there's 2 that are the incumbents in Jeff Hungerford and
Nate Heinold.
So those are 2 of the 6. They're in there along with 4 others.
I don't know if I kind of glossed over this, but DGN having 2 broadcasts going on at the same time.
Okay.
The obviously with the DDO, and then over the Konopiste.
Mm-hmm.
The Konopiste studio. Did you see that, Terry? Did you see the picture?
Yeah,
of
it
the
was
studio?
kind of a green screen,
it looked
digitally
like
framed up.
I believe that it looked like the desk was real.
Okay.
And then the rest was green screened, I believe.
That's what someone else said, and I said, no, that desk wouldn't be real.
I don't know. I think it was. The way their arms were resting on it, it felt like
you just green screen.
You could green screen the
literally
front.
green screen the desk, and then
you could have a real desk with a green screen cloth and do that. To me, it looked real. Obviously, the background was not. And the commentators speaking in a foreign language to them, English to us.
Mm-hmm.
I got to listen to a little bit of it, and I enjoyed it. One thing I really liked, and something I've always said I would do if I got the opportunity to do commentating, they dressed up. They had a suit jacket and a nice shirt. I don't know if they were wearing pants or not. I didn't get a chance to check. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, pantsless would be the way to go.
That would be the way to go. But they classed it up. Unlike the U.S. Yahoos like you, who just polo it.
Hey, I have
cheap.
a button up.
You're right. You do have a button up. The other Yahoos, even though your button up's a short sleeve, though. You guys are all Yahoos. Not these guys.
No,
these guys look professional. I like that look. I truly do.
You don't think it's too much?
No, I don't think so. I like the commentators, the buttoned up look, but I believe it kind of has to go with your studio.
Sure.
You know,
put us with a background of barbecue and at a picnic bench.
It might not. Then I was gonna go old school and be like, put us in front of a bed sheet. Maybe not, but
sure.
But in general, I do like the slightly more buttoned up look. It's a little more classic. I know it's a little stuffy, and we're disc golf. We don't have to be.
It feels like
it just exudes a level of confidence, I believe, to the viewer that you're professional and you know what you're talking about, as opposed to, and not the polos that we wear aren't bad. Your button ups aren't bad. They're just not as professional looking, in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, everyone can take it for what they want. Everyone has their own opinions. They're all wrong, and I'm right, but their opinions nonetheless.
Yeah. Okay. I don't watch enough other sports to give a ton of comparisons, but I feel as if we kind of fit the part. I feel like it is roughly on par with it, but
you're not too far off.
All right. So I did hear the brief some feedback that I heard is that overall people seem to really enjoy the commentators. Of course, as you just mentioned, not speaking in their native tongue, so to speak, but overall, it seems like it was very well received. I guess my question for you would be, just kind of on a little bit higher generic level, what kind of overall workload is that in terms of having two streams taking place? Or is it because it's different people?
It's different people.
It really doesn't matter
no,
what kind of workload
it doesn't matter. My understanding is the way the DGPT is working with the company called Pulsea. That was all announced months ago. Mo and Jeff Spring. Jeff, I believe, is staying over there. I don't know if he's coming back or not over the next couple of weeks, but he did fly out there on Monday, I believe. Mo came back yesterday or today, but he was out there producing the first show. So if you look, it looks like they took our DGPT template, picked it up, and dropped it in place. And so the graphics were the same, the transitions were the same. It was all the same. Drone shot, a lot of very similar. The intro, the opening was a typical Mo opening where you go, all right, we're gonna start at the second card. We're gonna see the player who's winning warm up, a couple putts. We're gonna talk to this person. We're gonna do, in general, normally we do like can of current conditions and all that stuff. It was very much scripted. Pretty much identical to our Pro Tour one, because I think they want a consistent branding.
Yeah.
So, which makes a lot of sense. So Mo was over there teaching them. But as far as workload, we've got our guys here. They've got their guys there. They're really, it doesn't do, there's no difference. Nothing they did there affected what we did.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so the workloads are roughly the same, but they're two entirely different staff and crew, and therefore it's just two sets of people all doing a bunch of work, and it happens to all reside on the Disc Golf Network. I feel like rewind a few years and there would be a lot more overlap of some people pulling some form of double or triple duty to make things like that happen. And in this case, the workload is really, hey, we're doing a major production here, we're doing a major production over here, two entirely separate things. They just happen to all be available to you in one spot. And I guess that was the clarification I was looking for everyone to have and to know out there.
Either way, it's big for the Disc Golf Pro Tour and DGN that they are starting their European broadcasts, and we're going to see the DGN broadcasts as well as the Disc Golf Stream broadcasts. There's a lot of live golf now. If you like live golf, my friend, be prepared for the next 2 months, because you're going to get your fill of it.
You certainly are. And speaking of getting your fill of it, there's some fill-ins this weekend. First and foremost, congratulations. A shout out to Jamie Thomas and his wife. They welcomed their second child into the world this weekend.
Bravo.
And with that, I think there was I don't want to say a minor health concern, but whatever health concerns they have all been alleviated, and everything turned out to be safe, happy, honky-dory, all good. So congratulations to Jamie Thomas and his whole family. I say all of that, and all of that especially matters because as late as Wednesday, again, when we were on that drive down to the event, which was about 10 total hours, I had a production meeting for Tournament Central, which is a role now. I've played a couple different roles. I've been the host during Music City Open. That was my first time hosting. And then at the Portland Open, I was alongside Brian Earhart, where we were both on site. This particular weekend, the plan as I was driving there, on Wednesday, the plan still was Jamie Thomas would be my co-host, but he would be remote, and I would this time be just exclusively on the ground. So every time I've been part of Tournament Central, there's been a different format or variant to it. I'm all for it. That was the plan. All good to go. Jamie's and his wife's baby came along a little bit earlier than planned because this was Wednesday or Thursday. By Friday, or just prior to Friday, Jamie was out, and the PDGA's Grant Zellner stepped in. And so Grant Zellner, who originally was not planning on it with me, stepped in on Friday and was the host for all 4 of Friday's shows. The pregame, FPO, postgame, pregame, MPO, and MPO postgame.
I got to watch some of them. Always love Grant's intros to you.
I don't. I guess I do blush, but that guy cracked me up. Yes, every time, and was all too kind to me. So yes, I appreciate that. So that was Friday. Then Saturday was a little wackier because Saturday morning we had a brand new guy step in, Luke Humphreys, who had undergone some training or possibility of being involved at Champions Cup until Luke Humphreys earned his way into playing in on Champions Cup. So Luke Humphreys was a reserve that hadn't yet ever been called into the spot. Well, he could help me out on Saturday morning for the FPO pregame and on Saturday afternoon for the MPO postgame. So he did those 2 shows with me. The middle 2 shows, the FPO post and the MPO pre, that was along with Hayden Henry from the PDGA. and he was on site with me as well as Luke was. And then throw all of that aside, because then come, so thank you to both of them. Then comes Sunday, our beloved Dustin Murray, who's out on the board usually as well, along with Hayden. Dust stepped in and was then the host for all 4 of the shows on Sunday during that final day. So I went from one co-host offsite to 4 different hosts throughout the weekend.
Roll with the punches,
yeah,
Miller.
But it was great in the sense that it was so fun to work with all these individuals and have a good time with it. Some shows were a little better than others in terms of my direct involvement and what I was doing. But overall, it was a lot of fun. And so we appreciate everyone's feedback and interest. And hopefully you're finding value in any of those Tournament Central shows, whether it's myself included or any of the hosts and other people that we've had. I feel like they've gained some momentum and some traction. And
it just took a while to find their footing. I mean, yeah. we started the season with a guy named Andre who had 0 disc golf experience, but put out my understanding is when he got the job, had a really good sizzle reel. Didn't work out for him, as well as Liz Lopez, who was a former disc golfer, and didn't work out for her. And I feel bad for her because I think she was put in a rough position with Andre, who didn't. It just wasn't a good pairing, and they unfortunately ate a lot of crap for having kind of a mediocre Tournament Central, and nothing you can do about that because we kind of all knew going into this that it was going to take a little while to get the right workflow, the right momentum, the right people in place, the right everything, the right scripts even. And it did. It took up until probably a month ago, maybe a little more than that everybody was really hitting on all cylinders, and it's much better now, and it's much better received.
Also joining or stepping into her first ever live production role, Sarah Hokum.
Knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought she was also great. I had her in my ear every single morning, her along with Ian, as I was out there, wandering around the course. I guess I was diligently, finding my way around. And she was great. And I think she will only continue to improve. Not that I have any major feedback whatsoever in terms of any drawbacks or setbacks or challenges at all. There was nothing. I was like, oh my God, I don't believe she's saying that or doing that or whatever. She was great.
She's a pro.
Yeah. So I thought
she's done a lot of post-production stuff.
Exactly.
And I believe that she just has a really good knack for not over talking and doing some pretty good explanation for the women's golf.
Yeah. And so, and another new thing, and I don't know how much that's going to be too commonplace for her. Obviously, she's still very much a competitor, and if she doesn't want to or see herself competing in an FPO division or at an FPO event, she has the interest and ability to compete in the FP40 divisions. And so, I look at her like a Juliana Corver in the sense that, flexible or versatile in that sense. And who knows where her career is going to continue to take us, but I think she's going to continue to be involved in some capacity. I'm excited to have a follow-up with her because I'm hoping and assuming and thinking that she overall had a positive experience this weekend. So
don't know.
So that's pretty cool.
Maybe when they're off camera, Ian was punching her.
He has done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He once tried to hug me too tight.
What?
But I was like, not possible.
It's not possible.
Try again.
There's no.
I was like, try again.
Not tight enough.
Try again. We just kept that. It was a fun little game.
It was like weird and creepy, like you are.
Anyway, so yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on at the DDO, and then we'd be remiss without at least mentioning. Yes, the question is begged, has been posed and asked. Do we need the amateurs at the DDO to help with the overall feelings, the vibes, the excitement of the event, but then also to help as part of the spectatorship?
Yes. There's been a lot of talk about the pricing of the tickets. $100 for the entire weekend. So $33 a day. I don't necessarily think that's out of the realm of price ranges that you would really look at and scoff at. I don't think paying $35 to go to an event is crazy. It feels a little bit high to me. Like, I'd like to see 20 to 25, but that's just a gut. That's literally anybody. And I'm in a different position than somebody else. So whatever. I think the big issue is just the location. It's hard to get people to come to Emporia. Emporia welcomes disc golfers. That whole city loves to have us there. It doesn't mean that they want to come out and watch us. And the disc golf community in Emporia isn't that big, like in the city of Emporia. So you're forced to draw from people that are an hour to 2 hours away, all, surrounding and, whatever your heat map is. I just don't think Emporia or the DDO has that kind of draw for spectators. I think it's and I know I'm on a very small island here, like full 16 size island, when I say that the course gets a bad rep, because I feel everyone looks at that course and says, ugh, an open course, Heiserfest. I don't see it that course that way. I think the course has a lot of nice different types of shots. We see forehand, backhand, flex shots, rollers. I'm okay with that. I like to see a little bit more wind at the course because we're in Emporia. But again, I'm on a different island for that particular take. But I will say the course doesn't necessarily sell on coverage that well because it does look so open. And if you're not really paying attention and watching very closely, you're not seeing a lot of these different shots. You're just seeing a player throwing another open shot. Oh, cool, they had to hit that gap 40 feet in front of them. Whatever, it's just a straight shot. It's more than that, especially on the back nine. The front nine, I can admit, gets a little bit repetitive, but I still think there's unique shots. So me personally, I don't mind the course, but I think it does have a rep that people are kind of done with it. And it's a different golf style course than what we're seeing in other parks. OTB. I don't think you would look at OTB and DDO and look at and say those are nearly the same type of course. Portland looks completely different. The closest you have to that DDO course is maybe LVC. And I'm not the biggest fan of the LVC courses. I have a hard time distinguishing the two of them. And that's partially my own fault because I don't tend to pay a lot of attention to the two. I like the event itself. I think they run it really well. The Jaquas have done a phenomenal job. The courses kind of blend together. Having three of them there, it's just too much for me and my brain melts. I know Emporia inside and out. I've been to the course. I've watched it every year. Every hole I'm familiar with. Except for the ones that they changed this year. Come on, guys. What are you even changing?
Yeah, why change it on Johnny?
Why change it on me? I got the same. So, going back to spectators, I just don't think you're going to get people to drive to Emporia for this. So if you want the spectators, you got to bring it back the amps. Now, I don't know if that's what the Pro Tour wants, to be honest. I don't know if there's something behind the scenes that the Pro Tour is saying, we don't want to compete with this AM event. We want the focus to be on this event. Because even if you bring the AMs, let's say the AMs are done on Saturday and Sunday is wide open. You're going to get a bunch of them to stay, but that's not going to help your ticket sales for that much on Saturday, Friday.
Sure.
It'll help a little bit.
Yeah, it will to some degree, sure.
Because you've got some players who are going to start in the morning, some players who will start in the afternoon. So you will get some people to come out, but I don't know. I know there's been talks of, maybe they move DDO to Kansas City, and you've got the KC Wide Open and the DDO in Kansas City different times of the year. I don't see the DDO ever taking over Kansas City. Kansas City Wide Open is doing their 41st year this year. So they're not going to stop calling it the Kansas City Wide Open anytime soon. There's an established event there. I don't know what the right answer is. Maybe the Pro Tour doesn't care. Maybe Emporia does it so well behind the scenes, which I know they do, that the Pro Tour is like, all right, if we sell 500 tickets, if we sell 1,500 tickets, it's not that big of a deal to us. Just keep putting on this awesome event behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, if there's solid payout on a course,
and I've not heard one player complain about the course.
No, in fact, almost quite the opposite from what I heard. I may have said this during one of my check-ins. I feel like it feels as if the players are seeing the course continue to dial in. Players really seem to like the changes this year, with at least holes 11 and 12, and then maybe part of the change then on 13. But they like the new 11 and 12 in which they played. I don't know if I didn't hear, honestly, a ton of feedback on the new 10, the old 11s basket. That hole, it felt like a little bit of time, and then people eventually figured that one out. But it seems as if a lot of people really enjoyed the couple of changes that were implemented for this year. And I'll echo that from a player perspective outwardly, not to say it doesn't happen in other places, but outwardly, I didn't hear anyone really complaining at all in terms of the course, how it's played, that it, all those things that it features. The other quick thing that I'll just throw out there and we can move on from this is I agree with something you touched on earlier in that it feels different when you're watching it there. And I'm I'm not a paid shill for any course or event. I will say though, a lot of people might not love the course, or they may say that online, or they don't like how it plays online. I don't feel at all like it's a wide open course. I'm walking the fairways. I am walking along the lines and seeing how these fairways have continued to narrow, just like USDGC has done for many years. These fairways continue to get more and more narrow, and it isn't just throw it wherever you want kind of golf. And would you love more trees? Yeah, sure. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. There's no one in the world that would say, yeah, I wish there were less trees. Would you like more trees if they were available? Of course you would. But the course, maybe it's a combination of how they're playing it so well because they've gotten to know it, or it's just maybe how it comes through on video. But in person, I will say this, after walking 6 rounds of it again this year, it doesn't play as easy as I think some others think it does. And you may or may not enjoy that. I understand. I can still, I'm not dismissing your opinion as to if you enjoy watching it or not. I'm just saying when I'm on site, there's times I'm genuinely worried if a shot's going to come in bounds or how much room they really have or where the pinch point is.
And I think that is part of it, is the OB. People don't love the artificial OB. And we've said it year after year after year. If DDO could trench the sides of the golf course and put water there, they would.
Yeah, then people would love it. Exactly.
But you can't, and I understand it can be hard from a viewer's perspective to spot the OB. Why when you skipped a little bit into this fairway is it OB here, but on the next hole you skip a little in that fairway and it's not OB. I think 13 and 14 kind of have that problem from what I remember looking at the maps. The OBs are a little, I don't want to say they're weird, but they're different than the other holes.
Sure.
And so that's kind of where I feel on that. Someone on the board mentioned something about Paige not liking the course and not showing up. I don't think that's the case at all. Paige hasn't gone for a couple of reasons, but this weekend particularly, she was at Bonnaroo doing clinics with a bunch of Discraft team guys. I believe Bob Giulio was there. I think at one point, I think Tina Oakley was there as well. And I think there were a few other Discraft people. She's starting to move into a stage of her career, for better or worse, called the Paul Macbeth stage, where she's caring less and less about these Elite Series events and more about her, we'll say, legacy, what she's giving to the sport, what she's doing. 5 years ago, I think she'd have been at this tournament. Now she looks at it and says, I can probably accomplish more and make myself better known and more popular by doing this other thing. And it just happens to be that she loves music festivals in general, so going to Bonnaroo was a super bonus for her, I'm sure. But I think that it had very little to do with the course or even any sort of issues her and Dee had years ago.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of that is in the past, and Paige is just in a different spot now.
Yeah, I'll say if it, I'll slightly contrast you in the sense that if it was a course she absolutely loved, like was one of her favorites, then I think she'd have a tougher decision.
I still think she'd go to Bonnaroo.
Exactly, and that was going to be my point. Is I still think she'd go and take the opportunity that she did this weekend. If it was up against, we'll say, a Maple Hill or which everyone loves, then maybe her decision would have been a little bit tougher. Although she would have still probably went to the music festival. At this stage in her career, with, like you said, the things that she can accomplish from that perspective. But if it was a maybe if it was a flip of the coin or a little less than that, yeah, she was giving the nod to the festival in this case. And again, go enjoy yourself. It doesn't have to be all disc golf every weekend, every time.
And as far as one last thing on Emporia, I get that people are burned out of Emporia in general. We've been there a lot over the last 2 years, with Worlds being there, and
sure.
I think 5 times over the last 2 to 3 years. So I get that. No one's going to be sad if we just go there once a year.
Yeah, I mean there's a reason though that why the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour have continued to go back there. It's because
reliability,
and the fact that they can put on these events, that they put their everything into hosting these tournaments, and that's why they were originally awarded 3 years in a row of the Junior Worlds, which was a new philosophy at that time. And the final year ended up being during the first year of COVID, but they were awarded that. And why we've seen a few World Championships there, Junior, Pros, Am Worlds, Pro Worlds. We've seen all these types of things happen because there's so much trust and there's variety within the courses. Maybe the kicker is Emporia's got a lot of great disc golf. It's just unfortunate that they're when you're hosting the highest level event, it's not their most beloved course, being their toughest courses aren't their most beloved. If you were playing some other divisions there and you got to go play some of their other courses that fit you, like a Peter Pan comes to mind, you're loving it. You're absolutely loving it that much more because of the style of the golf. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But it's certainly not from any lack of heart from the city or from Dynamic, which is something that I do love. That just, you can't put that on paper. And that's why we continue to see events there.
Same reason why Worlds gets given, so to speak, to Jeff Spring and his crew. Why Nate Heinold and his crew get to run Champions Cup and Ledgestone. Reliable crews that the PDGA can trust. They run the biggest events. There's a reason why very few new events pop up on tour their first year. That's why that's why we have the Silver Series. But yet, you know what? I bet you if Nate Heinold and his crew went to Montana or Idaho, found a great course, and said, we have scouted this course, we love this course, we think this can be a Pro Tour course. Year 1, it would be on the Pro Tour. I guarantee it. If something like that were to happen, because there's so much faith and trust that the PDGA, the DGBT have in those few TDs and trusted groups that they could pull that off. Whereas if you or I went to the Pro Tour and said, "Hey, we have this awesome course in Milwaukee," and let's say it was a Pro Tour caliber course, and we told them we had $25,000 in added cash right off the bat, they still would look at us and go, "Cool, that sounds like a great Silver Series to me." Just the way it works.
And someone, just for clarification, John had asked, why are they not playing Peter Pan? It's not long enough. It's just not long enough, tough enough. It's a phenomenal course. That's why I mentioned
it's great
if you're holding in a Junior Worlds or an Advanced Worlds or certain levels within your age protected division, so on and so forth. It's a great course for certain divisions. That's why we're not playing. It was played not that many years ago. Within the Pro Tour, and the Glass Blown Open, but we've just disc golf's outgrown it, from that competitive standpoint.
Yeah.
All right, let's move. Ray says, is there room for any event on tour for a par 3 course. I would love to see
the Preserve. The Preserve is basically a par 3 course. There's a few par 4s out there and a par 5, but it's a birdie. It's a deuce or die course.
Is it deuce or die? You mean birdie or die?
It's definitely birdie or die, but there's a lot of deuces on that course.
Is there?
I think there is.
Yeah, but would there ever be a par 54, a true par 54, or a true par, we'll say only 56? Probably not. I would be entertained by it, but then you'd have just as many people saying, as much as they, you'd have a lot more people complaining and saying this is too easy. They shouldn't be here, versus the people that would say, hey, this is a lot of fun. This is relatable. I actually can see what they're doing on a course I'm familiar with. Go to info.
I'm looking now. For some reason I thought it was more of a birdie or die, but we'll see if it.
No, I mean there's a ton of birdies. You're right on that.
Deuce or die,
but I don't think deuce or die. I mean, scroll up just a tad and it'll tell us. Course stats. If you click on that, that's what I was looking for.
Okay,
that should give us total distance and scores. I mean, it's 9,500 feet. It's a par 67, so it's got 13 holes that play, over a 3.
All right.
So
maybe it's not deuce or die,
but it's
birdie or die.
Yeah, because
you have to birdie.
You're
every
right
hole.
in that there could be 14 or 15 or 16 birdies in the round, and then there's a couple eagle opportunities. Absolute that are very eagleable.
Yeah,
if that's the word.
And
but it's not birdie.
It's not a par 3 course. You're right. It's not a deuce or die. It's a birdie or die course. And I love the Preserve in that it's a different style of golf, in that every shot, if you don't take a birdie on it, you've lost one to the most of the field. Like almost all these holes, you're looking at, okay, cool. I didn't birdie this one. I probably lost it. I probably lost it to 30% of the field here. And so that is a different style of golf than, we'll say, Maple Hill, where you cannot get a birdie on even hole 8 and say, okay, I'll make it up somewhere else. With the Preserve, there's almost no making it up. Because someone's getting it. Someone's coming out of there with a 14 to a 15 to a 16.
Yeah, and especially with the fact that they can end with an eagle on the very final hole, always adds to that anticipation. So, all right, do we have any other regular show news here that's worthwhile? We don't. Okay, well then I think
we'll go to an after show.
We can wrap up and get on to an after show. With that, we invite you to join us in the after show, where anything gets talked about, disc golf related or otherwise. We'll probably be some continuation of the Frisbee word thrown around in some capacity. And we'll have our giveaway. Our Patreon giveaway will take place then. That's where you're, of course, eligible. If you're a Patreon supporter, you're automatically eligible every single week to possibly win something. And there's also an additional chance, if you head over to our website, you can click a few places there and get yourself signed up if you don't want to support us in any financial capacity. And that's fine too, as long as you're here.
It's not.
We appreciate you. Kind of. With that being said, we got to thank Parker Welck, this incredible story for this weekend, and so excited for him. We're excited to see what he can continue to do, if he can back up some of that enthusiasm, excitement, confidence, everything else. We're looking forward for the story here in the remainder of 2023 and beyond with him. We appreciate him joining us and giving us some of his time in his very, very newfound busy weekend life. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's been podcast 460. We'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV Podcast 460 After Show. It's the after show, folks.
How did your daughter enjoy spending the weekend with you on the job? Walking along out in the not so cool weather of Emporia, almost summer. How did Allie enjoy watching what you do every weekend? Because this is the first time they've really got to see that. They know what you do, but Allie, I don't know, has ever seen it.
The closest previous scenario to all of this weekend would have been that my daughters, who are now 14 and 12, but a few years ago, or for a few years, have gone to the Rocky Mountain Women's Championship, and that's more of a hybrid of a few different things, of me being their dad and their, the guy in charge of them for playing in the event, which they would do, for 1 or 2 rounds. But then I would also grab a camera and then go out and film post-production for FPO. So I've done that a few times with them. They've enjoyed it. Playing is not a hardcore concern of theirs. They'll play it, but they won't go out of their way for it. And in this case, it was more of a just what you did on the trip. Then, this last weekend, having Allison get in the car with me ultimately was on Wednesday. We got just south of, actually, no, I'm sorry. We detoured ourselves. I was originally going to try and get just south of Kansas City so that we'd only be left with about an hour and a half drive on Thursday morning before the press conference. Well, due to Bonnaroo, I think, and a bunch of other stuff going on, I didn't think about the hotels being crazy in that area, so we instead diverted, and for the first time in my life, found myself in Lawrence, Kansas, which worked out equally as great, actually. It was still an hour and a half, roughly, hour and 15 the next morning, and hotels were plentiful at reasonable rates. And so we got all the way there on Wednesday night.
I think Lawrence, Kansas is the home of one of my favorite bands, the Get Up Kids.
I think so. I don't know.
You don't know.
So we'll say you're right. So then we ended up getting to the press conference, which I had to explain to her how that all works. Had the press conference, which is always it's different, obviously, from week to week in some regards. In some regards, it's a lot of the same. Did the press conference and then explaining to her, like, this isn't as chaotic of a day. This is, dare I say, this is kind of an easy day. Of course, I had to prep for it. I have to do all the work. I then helped lead the press conference and then was kind of talking to Sarah Holcomb and showing her some of the details. But that's, of all the days, that's the easiest of the days. And then we took in local, Casa Romas, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
On Thursday night. We managed to get over there, which was great.
A little surprising. You're not much of a Mexican restaurant guy.
Yeah, but
you don't mind it. But
I feel like when you go to Emporia, that's one of the check boxes. Everybody goes there. I've been going there for quite a few years, at least once. So that's where we went, and Allie really likes it. So we went there. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I won't go through every minute, but yeah, she got up early. We got ready. I went and did Tournament Central pre-games. We went out for the round, had the post-games, had lunch, went back out had the pre-game, went back out for the afternoon round. To my surprise, she walked all 6 rounds with me. And for not being a hardcore disc golfer at all, she had a lot of questions, which was great. She wanted to clarify a few things. We got to a few holes.
That guy wasn't really in bounds, was he?
No, she was like, this has to be a par 4, right? And so a few of those holes she was picking up on, and some of the strategies and the things that were going on out there. And I will gladly reiterate and proclaim what she said, which is she thought everyone was so damn nice to her, and she was very appreciative, as was I, of course. And not that I'm surprised by it, but our Disc Golf Pro Tour staff, everyone that was there was just incredibly nice to her. And then when we go meet people,
you should let her do one of the check-ins.
She did get a kick out of it. I was one night we went to Walmart just to get a couple of the basics. Walmart's kind of one of the main stops there. You kind of have to.
Yeah, there's not a lot other than Walmart.
And it was right across the street from our hotel. So we got a little bit of some waters and a couple of basic things. And a few people had recognized or stopped and talked to me in Walmart, which is especially in Emporia is super common. No big deal. We saw Deanne Carey there. I saw a number of people.
You always see people at Walmart.
Exactly, because everybody's there. That's where you have to go. And at one point, she's like, isn't that kind of weird? Like people stopping you, like people you don't know, like that are getting your autograph, doing selfies here. I'm like, it's the Walmart in Emporia, and so she was really tickled by that.
The Walmart in Lawrence might have been weird.
Correct.
Not the Walmart in Emporia.
So that was a ton of fun, and she just got a real kick out of that. We did Radius, of course. We did the block party for a little while, of course. So we went into the Dynamic Disc store. The only thing we didn't do, which wouldn't have really interested her as much anyway, maybe, is go walk around at all in the Dynamic Disc warehouse.
The new warehouse.
But we really, honestly, wouldn't have had time. I would have had to plan it way better.
She's like, this looks like a bigger version of my dad's storage.
Yeah, that's exactly what she would have said. She'd been like, okay, yeah, I've seen a lot of this. Like, she probably would have said, oh, this is one of the few places we've been that I see more discs than at our house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was great. And the fact that she was on board, God bless her. She didn't complain literally once. Kenzie, I know you're not watching, but Kenzie would not have gotten through quite as the 12-year-old. Oh, gosh, not even there. She wouldn't have wanted to get up. She wouldn't have wanted to do anything. So
she would have been fun at the block party, though.
She would have been, yes. She would have been terrorizing there. But she was, Allison was incredible. And the fact that, of course, we got this daddy-daughter time. Long rides there,
over
long
Father's
rides
Day.
back. She was there on Father's Day. And she volunteered to at one point take the backpack for a few holes. And call me a mean dad or not, I didn't turn her down. I'm like, I will take this. It's miserable out here. And if you don't mind carrying this backpack that's got some of the live equipment on it, and then I was just tethered to her, still carrying the mic. I didn't make her carry it that long, but it was a great reprieve when it's that hot and that humid, and then you have something on your back, pressing on your back, that's heating up. Yeah, even if you're skinny, it's hot there and a little bit muggy, so or a lot. So
I'm glad she got to do it. Hopefully, you'll get to take Kenzie at some point, maybe in the future.
Where's the rowdiest place I should take Kenzie? Where would fit in?
Where could you take Kenzie? That would be like maybe the All-Star event if you were to go on site for the All-Star event.
Yeah, that might be a good one.
Maybe like
the Melee of Ledgestone. She might like some components of it because that's also like just nonstop.
I was thinking short courses, so I was trying to figure like maybe Maple Hill because there's a lot to do, like the Sap House, even though it's a little different now. Maybe Maple Hill, but it's gonna. Kenzie might be another couple of years.
Yeah. So we'll see. But again,
leave Kenzie with the 8 holes. That would be great. She'd run
be the
that
new
place.
Leader. Yeah,
she would
could be the new leader of them.
It's like Lord of the Flies.
But yes, getting time in with Allison on Father's Day, and then having that long drive back on both Sunday night and throughout Monday, was just great. And I mean, nothing for nothing. You'll be in a similar situation. You already are. Like realizing that my daughter is 14, it's not going to be long before she's driving, and not going to be long before she
wants nothing to do with you for a while.
Entirely different world, for sure. So,
is she the type that is excited to get her license? Can you tell yet? I mean, she's 14.
She
it's
is,
hard.
but it's going to be also a little different or weird because she'll be one of the very first because she's an October baby. So she's one of the older kids in her class.
I was saying my son's gonna be one of the last because he's a July kid.
Yep.
So
like I was. So she's excited, but not losing. She's not wildly. She'll be excited, and I'll expect her to get it pretty close to her birthday, so to speak. But she's I don't know. She's not too concerned about it.
Yeah, my son doesn't feel like he has shown a ton of interest in getting it, as opposed to when we were younger, it was the first thing we wanted to do. I was disappointed I couldn't get it on my 16th birthday because it was on a Sunday. I had to wait till Monday to get it. And I know kids are different these days and that they don't necessarily need a car to be interactive with their friends and whatnot. So I didn't know where Allison stood
Yeah, I mean, she's excited, and I'm totally good with it. I'm not too concerned about her. Kenzie, again, a little more scary. But with our community and her friends and whatnot, I don't know that'll be that huge of a game changer, so to speak. So all in all, good. And thank you to everyone that was gracious and kind with her and had polite words. Who knows? I think even if she doesn't have any part of disc golf in her career, as you already know, it's good for any of our children to go then see at least some of the things that are out there and available, even if it's not within an interest of your own, to just go see how you could branch out into a million different things. The fact that we have 20 different DGPT staff members there, all of whom's job didn't exist 5 years ago. And that to me is a testament to, how anything can be done or created and what it all means. So yeah, it was very cool. So there's another side story to it that I can't remember at the moment, but thank you for everyone that was out there. And Dust, yes, as you said as well, and we see him out on the board. Dustin was the co-host on Sunday, and
a little thrown into the fire. I know he was prepared to do it, just not this weekend originally. I believe it was a few weekends out he was looking at that. But when duty calls,
or Call of Duty, when Call of Duty's on. Ew. I think that's a video game.
Sore spot, man.
Okay. So yes, Dustin, I appreciate the heck out of you. He's out there on the board. But it was a lot of fun. Again, Tournament Central is this ever evolving scenario that's, I think is getting better from just the back end that then helps make the front end continue to get better as well. So it was good. Upcoming this weekend, Des Moines. Anything jump out at you as wildly we've seen some crazy weather a few of these years. I think back-to-back years, right? We've had some form of delay and or last year it was called and delayed.
Yes.
And then people ended up going out and playing some kickball and the weather. The year before, I think I was on site. It was called and delayed there as well, and everyone had to actually take shelter. And then I think that's when they came out and played Macbeth and his crew had to play 35 holes.
Correct.
All on the second day. So I think we're 2 for 2 on crazy weather.
We can look right now and see what we're possibly looking at.
Wasn't it?
It kind of took over the mantle from, was it Idlewild for 2 or 3 years in a row? They had just the crazy, they had during the Dodge years when the truss,
the tent and the truss blew over and got destroyed.
Yeah.
And ripped to shreds because we had some Idlewild weather. I definitely remember that because I remember going back to the hotel soaking wet.
So scary.
And Idlewild was postponed for some parts of the day, and then we had to play extra holes on the next day for Idlewild. So
we're still a ways out. As we know, nothing's guaranteed. This could hit Friday. This could push back to Sunday or Monday. But as of right now, Saturday looks like the day where rain could happen. We're looking at about anywhere between a 30 to a 60% chance through most of the day. Again, we're 4 to 5 days out.
I believe it when I'm in it.
I'll believe it when I see you in a wet T-shirt.
Mm-hmm. Well, just for full circle, I will be in Bend this weekend. Myself, along with Nate Doss, will be doing the MPO side. FPO, I believe, is myself, Zoe Andike, and Valerie. And I think Zoe, we're glad to have her, but Zoe's also there in an extra precautionary measure because Valerie is due anytime she's due in a month, but as we all know,
ask Jamie Thomas how that works.
Exactly, and that can now happen any day. So it will, as far as I'm aware, we'll have both Valerie and Zoe in the booth with me this weekend. So I wanted to throw that out there, and I believe Brian Earhart's out on the course for both MPO and FPO. So that's what you're looking at. I have no idea who's in Tournament Central. It probably is Brian Earhart then and someone else, but I have no idea because I'm not going to be involved. So that's taking place this weekend for the Des Moines Challenge. Also, I know one of the interesting components to this weekend is there's some kind of throw-off to win a car, and some people can go out and vote. And I'm not going to be on site, so I'm fuzzy on the details. But I know right now you can go vote for some of your favorite players. And that's how they get into the conversation about then being able to throw for a car. So click on the Google's media's thingies for that, if that makes sense.
This weekend I walked. We had the Greater Milwaukee Open here. I did not play. I got to walk around though. I didn't sign up in time, not knowing what my schedule was going to be like this summer. I walked with one of our mutual friends, Scotty Too Hottie Bertard, who barely cashed.
Ouch! I was just gonna say, did he win?
No, he did not. The last 4 holes of the round on the final day, he let me pick his discs.
Okay, so
which is going really well, considering I don't know his bag.
Mm-hmm.
And the last, so Brown Deer holes, I think 15, 16, 17, 18, 1 and 2, I believe. I got to pick what he was going to throw off the tee.
Sweet.
I was mostly kind to him, other than I think hole 2 when I told him to pull out the Meteor. It's a big, tight turnover shot.
Huh?
So, and it's very wooded. So he played relatively poorly, but we had a lot of fun walking around and chatting and catching up because I hadn't had a chance to talk to Scotty in a while. So played first round at Dretzka, second round at Brown Deer. I walked around both rounds.
All right.
It was a good time.
Well, little Wisconsin tour action. Oh, and as a completely non-golf related item, in a little bit of confusion and chaos when it was all said and done, Allie and I so much as got in the house, dropped off our bags, our suitcases after the continued drive. We essentially finished we drove to Des Moines area on Sunday night, and then Monday morning, actually it was Cedar Rapids, whatever, and then drove the rest of the way. Got back just in time to drop off our bags to then attend a Brewers game playing against the Diamondbacks, a bunch of my daughter's friends, and took in a little bit of that as well. And there is nothing, and I could care less. It's the Brewers and the Diamondbacks, 2 teams I couldn't care less about. Tickets were free, and there was this, again, confusion about even attending and whatever. But there's nothing I could care less about than these 2 teams, and I'm just going for the experience and for the kids' experience. Top of the first inning, I'm here with the Brewers and the home team. Top of the first inning, the Diamondbacks hit through the lineup and score 6 runs in the top of the inning. There's nothing more deflating than a poor turnout Monday night event or tournament or game
inning.
And then a first inning 6-0 shellacking in the top half of the first inning.
Did the Brewers make a comeback at all on it?
No.
Okay. I didn't pay attention.
None. Again, I was there for the experience and eating some shelled peanuts. That was where my concern was from the get-go. But wow, you want to talk about just so deflating, and I could feel it within the stadium. Like, ouch. Okay, it's 6-0, top of the first. It's kind of hard to recover from that, but
it is. Sunday night was Father's Day. I had the weekend to myself as my family went up north and
left you alone.
Left me alone.
Heck yeah,
it was great. I got some yard work done. Worked on the shed a little bit. It's got a rotting soffit, and I need to replace a bunch of wood in there. So I had to go out and buy some wood. But then Sunday night, I was like, what am I going to do for dinner? And I thought, I'm going to go have popcorn for dinner. And I went to go see a movie. Terry, you do not have to get up and go see The Flash. I did it for you. So don't worry about it. A superhero movie you don't need to see.
Yeah.
You don't need to see it, Terry.
Even if you bought my ticket and popcorn, I don't think I would have went.
Yeah, you would have. You would have ate popcorn there.
If you would have offered soft pretzels and cheese while I was there, which they probably do now, then maybe that would have convinced me. But
yeah, you don't need to see it. I didn't need to see it after I saw it. It wasn't great. So, take that for what it's worth. And I know you weren't going to rush out and check it out anytime soon anyway.
Okay, good to know.
But for any of our Smashies out there, you don't need to see this movie.
Here's a question that's kind of media related. Do anyone in the comments pay for whatever version of YouTube? I don't know if that's premium. I think
I've debated signing up
a YouTube premium that, whatever version that allows you to download locally. Because I think that's the $14.99 a month. I think that's a YouTube Premium. Is there anyone in the chat, and can you provide some feedback? First of all, maybe clarification, because I'm too lazy to Google it. But provide any feedback. I don't know if that blocks ads too or reduces them, I'm guessing. But to me, I'm at a point with my travels, and I guess I look at it like a Hulu, like a Netflix, so on and so forth. I feel like I'm at a point when it comes to YouTube that to me it almost feels worth it, even though I watch zero disc golf on YouTube. It feels as if the capability to download and play locally would be worth it to me. As cheap as I am, I feel like it almost would be worth it to me. And I'm looking for anyone else that has input on this. Ryan says, yeah, YouTube Premium or whatever.
I think that comes with YouTube Music as well.
Which there again would mean nothing to me personally. But someone says, no ads ever, can download any video for later. Ryan says, I do it so I don't have to watch commercials. I have YouTube Premium on a family plan for $60 a month. 4 of us can skip ads. Ray and the rest of you that just answered, thank you. Can you clarify, is it just 15 if I just wanted it to work on, so to speak, one login? I ain't sharing that with any of my family or paying for them.
No, there's no
None of them watch it enough or would get enough value out of it. But I'm to that point where I feel like I would. That's where I consume most of my news. And for me, I feel like it would actually be worth it. Maybe. I'm contemplating.
I've contemplated it. I wish they would stop popping up every time, whether I want to subscribe to YouTube
Live,
YouTube
or
Live,
or whatever.
YouTube, yeah. I wish almost every time I go in, it asks me, do you? Because I did a free trial of it once when I wanted to watch something and I didn't have cable. I believe it was a football game. And so I think every time I log in and watch a video, it pops up and says, hey, would you really like to subscribe?
Maybe. I mean, they're getting you when they think they want you. You want it. Have ad blockers at the router level. Yeah, but does that, again, the download feature is to me even more crucial than the ad blocking. To me, it's the download feature.
I use an ad blocker on my system, my browser in general, and it's pretty good. I don't really get
$12.99
any ads.
$12.99 seems to be the consensus here. And some people are saying that it is worth it. Ryan says, I don't use the music feature. I've used the download feature, and I only used it before flights, which is exactly, again, where is the most common place I'd find myself using it. And I'll admit,
maybe I'll sign up for a trial. For our long drive to for vacation, so they can download stuff for the kids.
I think I treat YouTube in a sense almost like a podcast or a podcast app in that I will basically turn stuff on and let it play through the Bluetooth of my car. I'm not watching. I don't need to watch it especially if it's like a news thing or whatever. I'm not paying attention to it visually, but I like to be able to listen to it. And
I do that sometimes with Disc Golf Network, or if it's on YouTube, if I'm happen to be driving. Let's say I leave work at 4:00 and I want to kind of listen. I'll pop it on my radio and just listen to the commentators.
All right. Well, you guys are pushing me in a direction.
And I was going to say, one of the reasons I'm thinking about, or I have thought about signing up for it for a long time, is that we're a Google household in general. We don't have any of the Alexa. So when I ask it to play music, that would be nice, as opposed to just just Pandora, which is what pretty much we use now. You just give it a playlist, or you give it a song, and it kind of goes off on its own playlist, which gets a little repetitive after you've gone through the 12 songs you use to feed it, and you get the same 6 or 8 radio stations. Having YouTube Music, you could literally ask it to play a specific song. So I've debated, but I haven't pulled the trigger.
Clearly, I have a personal bias here, but I still don't think it's crazy, and I understand they're going to get you no matter what. I don't think it would be a bizarre benefit that once you do get to 100,000 subs, they give that to you for free. Like, how much revenue are they missing out on in that case? Like, that's like a value add. And I would say this even if I wasn't at 95,822 subs and just a few thousand short. I would say this anyway. There's like
there could be
it's not like there's millions of channels at 100,000 or more.
No, but there could be some accounting behind the scenes with things like YouTube Music and revenue that gets a little blurry and messy. Because when, for better or worse, when you listen to a song, they give 0.007 cents to whatever artist. Where does that come from now if you're a sub? Do they pull that out of your YouTube AdSense? And then I'm just saying there could be some.
It's just such a minor lift.
And I kind of feel like you sound exactly like the people that say they won a world championship. Just give them a PDGA membership. Well, why does Climo have to pay for a world championship?
Sure, yeah, I can see the analogy.
It feels very similar.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm saying that sounds very similar.
It to me, yeah, when you say that analogy or use that discussion, it always comes down to where does the line get drawn, and that's where I'll bite back on any given person that says that, oh, they've won a Worlds. Well, did they win a Pro Worlds, a Pro Masters Worlds? It was an FP65 Worlds. Like, yeah, was it a Junior Worlds?
Is it just Worlds or is it all majors? Is it Champions
exactly.
Cup?
And then why not that? I get all of that. I can totally understand that. And then so I could even then be down for the argument of, I don't know how many different thresholds YouTube really recognizes, but when I think of 100,000, and maybe they do when you get to 1 million subs, which again is even a tinier sliver.
They do.
I doubt they do, exactly. But that's where I would say, like, okay, maybe there's these thresholds, just like you'd have a threshold on your.
Maybe instead what they could do rather than give it to you is they could just pull that money right out of your YouTube account so that you're not paying it, but you're also not cashing in. But that could be awkward depending on how often you pull your YouTube money out and the timing it hits. Just.
All right, let me read a few details. And I have something exciting about congratulations, first and foremost, to Bevel Brewery celebrating 4 years this weekend. They had a big bash, a big party. Most importantly, I don't care about your 4 years. I care about the Glow Round Imperial Barrel-Aged Stout they released, which I have had early taste of and is effing amazing.
And good thing you're going there this weekend.
I'm not saying Nate had me in mind, but he's playing to all the Tear Bear flavor palettes.
I still miss the old days with the end of the broadcast. The OTB after show had all the beers. How funny is that?
Yeah. So for what it's worth, congratulations to them. And I am excited for some of that, what they're calling Glow Round. It's a barrel-aged Imperial Stout, and it truly is phenomenal. Anyway, so that's going on. I'm excited to get out there this weekend for that. So you guys are talking about recording in OBS. I'm going to skip past that because I don't know the context. Step in the box. Someone says, Terry, you have some pull. Can you please ask the PDGA Pro Tour and UDisc to add birth date to player pages?
I'm sure there's a reason.
There is. Because I would love them as well. There's certain, just not necessarily their birthday. I would just love to know ages.
Would that be almost like
not quite hip hop
privacy?
Yeah, but I think it's a privacy thing that it's not readily available. And honestly, a stat mando outside of like doing a research and probably Googling, and pulling from, we'll say, a Wikipedia page, like a stat mando doesn't have those numbers to pull from an IP, pull in and use an API to pull from so-and-so to pull from so-and-so. I don't know that anyone has that. Of course, the PDGA's database does. They don't, I believe, make that part of the database or the AP in the API.
They do not make it part of the
API.
API.
They don't make it available.
I cannot pull that information. I have access to, I don't want to say all of the API, but a lot of it.
Would we love it? Yes. Because I would love to be able to confirm on my own if I'm on the course.
Is Kelvin 27 or 28?
Yeah, exactly. Or is Gannon Burr, 18 or did he just turn, is he 17 or did he just turn 18? He just turned 18. I would love to know some of that stuff as well. Of course, like anything though, there could be some other weird, creepy reasons. But no, that's not, I don't have that pull.
Yeah, I agree. Step in the box. I don't know why they don't do it for sure.
I'm sure it's ultimately some form of privacy issue.
Because you can find that information on virtually every other sport athlete. So,
but almost every other sport we reference, though, are going to inevitably be adults. We have
correct. Like Carter Aarons, do you want to put his birth date? He's underage, and maybe you have a restriction.
And Gannon Burr until recently, and
like,
so-and-so.
Like when you turn 18, your date of birth gets put on there or something. I don't know. It's goofy, but I can completely understand. Do you find, speaking of UDisc, do you think it's funny that sponsors have to pay to have their logo on the things? Because I looked.
I was going to say, did you just find this out? It's been around for a while.
No, I knew this.
Okay.
I knew this. I just chuckled today when I was looking at UDisc, prepping for
and
Skip Base. And no, Kelvin doesn't have an Innova logo.
Really?
Yeah, correct. Nobody, I believe, has an Innova logo.
Wow.
So
that is a conscious decision,
which leads me to believe that Innova is not paying UDisc to put their
100%
logo on there.
Wow.
Yeah, because if you open up Dynamic Disc and just go to FPO, because there's more FPO.
I'll go to Haley King.
She does not have it on her profile. If you click on her profile, it's usually on the page. It'll be in the lower right-hand corner of the big picture. Nothing there. Go to any other player, and it'll have their sponsor's logo there.
A primary and or secondary and even tertiary.
Yeah, because Kelvin has, I think, whale sax and squatch.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Ella Hansen, who has a Disc Mania and a whale sax. Katrina Allen probably has a DGA and a squatch. For confirmation, Missy Gannon does have 3. She has Discraft, Grip, and whale sax. Deanne Carey has Lone Star, so on and so forth. And then Jennifer Allen, obviously,
just has Grip.
Innova, just has Grip.
So I find that funny that almost every other every other sponsor has clearly shelled out some money to UDisc to have their logo there, and Innova has chosen not to.
Wow. Okay.
Clearly that doesn't matter.
It matters to somebody. It matters to somebody's bottom line. It matters to UDisc in their bottom line. It matters to Innova in their bottom line. And does it send any message of any kind to the player and say, we don't find enough value in paying UDisc because we support you and sponsor you in all these other ways. Mm-hmm. We don't find enough value in paying UDisc to then also have our logo displayed on your profile. I mean, so as they say, no communication is still communication. Like, it still says something. Now, it doesn't have to be nefarious or positive or negative, depending on how you're looking at it, but it still says something. I mean, nothing for nothing. Whale Sack's budget, advertising and
percentage of Innova's.
Yeah.
Now,
how much is a hay penny these days? Right?
Yeah. And we don't know at all UDisc's behind the scene if it's the same price for Whale Sacks as it is for Innova. I have zero information on that stuff behind the scenes. Would it make sense if UDisc went to Innova and Discraft and said it's going to cost you $1,000 for a year, but went to Whale Sacks and said
it's $200,
it's $150 or $200 or $100?
Yeah,
is that fair? Is it scalable? I don't know. I don't know what they do or how they do it. But I just think it's really interesting because I noticed that today, and it started my wheels turning for things like Skip Ace, where if I have a profile page, can I milk some money out of these manufacturers?
Wow.
And granted, Skip Ace doesn't have nearly the same type of viewer base that UDisc does.
I need to sell out to somebody.
I know, me too.
Ooh, come on, somebody. Let's find a way for me to sell out. Carney says Innova could have a marketing budget of 0 and they would still be top 3. Yeah, again, I'm not. This isn't a value judgment or judgment call on them doing it or not.
I don't care.
It does still send some signal though of some kind. Either they don't find enough value in UDisc, or they've expended their marketing budget in 99 other places So UDisc, they're actively choosing not to. They obviously must not align with the UDisc pricing, and that they feel like it's in line with what they want to pay for. Maybe they made a conscious decision and said, guess what? We're going to have more people on UDisc than any other manufacturer would. So rather than paying for 109 people to possibly have logos there, we're going to pay for none. And then just
do you pay per person, or do you?
There's some. Let me back up. I don't know all the details. No, I really don't. But I think there's tiers and levels. You have 0 to 5 people, 5 to 20, or 20. Like they may discount it if you have more people. I believe is what I heard.
I did not know that at all. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like, oh, it's $500 per person no matter what. I think there's some tiering, so they're basically giving you a discount for the more people you have on there.
Okay.
I believe in UDisc. If you're out there, or Josh, you're probably listening to this the next day in some other country. Feel free to send me a message.
Does he live overseas still?
No,
I was gonna say
he's probably still in another country, though.
He might be. You're right.
So I could be dead wrong, but I think I heard once that it's tiered.
Maybe.
But either way,
I happen to notice that Innova was basically the only major manufacturer that did not have their logo on there. So that's what struck me as interesting today.
I'm gonna go, only because they've made such an investment this year, or a larger. No, because we saw a Lone Star a moment ago. Yeah, I was gonna say a Clash. So I go to Eric Oakley, for instance, and I see an Infinite Disc. I see a Thought Space Athletics, and I see a Whale Sack. And then let's go to another Clash, like an Evan Smith, who's been with Clash a long time, and I do not see a Clash for Evan
no
Smith.
Clash logo either. Okay.
Again, it's about who feels like that's their
and Clash is relatively new over here, so maybe they just didn't even realize they didn't have the opportunity.
That's why I came to think of it. And then Proctor, I'm curious to see like James. Why is this not working for me, Johnny? Isn't that weird? Did James Proctor not?
Did he play? I don't think he played.
Apparently he did not.
No, because I didn't hear about him all weekend. It would.
That's not going to do
I don't believe Proctor played this weekend, Terry.
Huh. Anyway, interesting.
I think he said, "Get bent, Terry Miller." I'm not.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to you, from you around you. So if I go to similarly, just like Eric Oakley. If you go to James Proctor, you see Infinite Disc, Thought Space Athletics, and Whale Sack. So, anyway, some food for thought there.
Yummy, yummy food.
Carney says, I'm sponsored by my mom.
It's a good sponsor.
Does she want to sponsor me?
I wanted to make a mom joke there. I wanted to say, yeah, so is the rest of the block. But
that would
just be mean.
That would
Carney, you're a nice guy. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions out on the board as you guys are rolling through all of this? We don't want this to go too sideways, do we?
Sure. It's the after show.
Maybe.
We can get as sideways as we want to get.
It can get a little bit sideways. Hey, if anybody
like Carney's mom. Hey.
Jeez. Johnny said it. I
did. I'm sorry.
Just
Carney,
remember, your Patreon contribution affects us both. Oh God, no! Don't do this.
I'm sorry.
If anyone wants to sponsor my UDisc, or not my UDisc,
your UDisc logo, yes, we're gonna put Terry on. If you want to sponsor Terry's UDisc logo,
if you want to sponsor my YouTube Premium, that's what I was gonna say. I'll put you in all the special shout outs. Quick side note, I think I've said it, so I'll just quickly say it one more time. I'm gonna be at Pro Masters Worlds. Excited to do some stuff there next month. Already getting in on the mother conversation. All right, Johnny, are you firing up what we're gonna need here for our?
I have it ready, Terry Miller. It's right here. And what Terry Miller is talking about is, now that I've made jokes about people's moms, Patreon.com.
Now we're gonna beg you for money.
Smashbox TV. You too can get support. Or support us. You can't get support. You can give support, and maybe with enough support, we can have our logo on UDisc's page. We'd have to find a player to sponsor, Terry. I'd have to look at who sponsors us on Patreon and maybe look through for one of them.
That seems like a no-brainer.
Tony Farrow, he's a supporter, so maybe we could sponsor him if we had enough sponsorships from other people.
Yeah.
Pool it up. Anyway, patreon.com/SmashboxTV. You can be eligible to win our giveaway, as well as if you go to smashbox.tv/weekly giveaways. You can sign up like I think 6 or 7 other people did this week and be eligible for our weekly giveaway. Terry, this week we're going to give away something out of your stock.
Yes, we've got more action to give away.
So much
I've got plenty of it. So let's do it, Johnny.
We have 144 people eligible. So hold on, let me open up my random.org and go and refresh the page so it's nice and fresh, like everyone has to do, right? In the waffles.
Well, yeah, first I have to show the
yeah, I'm not doing all that stuff. The little lock logo, and you have to walk around 3 times and do all
pat your head while you
do stupid stuff. You have to hold up yesterday's newspaper and tomorrow's newspaper, which is a lot more difficult.
So I do it.
144 people eligible for this giveaway. Terry, what number are we going to draw?
Let's draw. I mean, this was Parker Welck's first big event, so I say we go 1. We go
just
big.
The very first one. All right, our very first one. I sorted it by email address, by the way. So our first one is 1.
I mean, just as good a chance as all the others.
It's just shocking.
I agree.
It's just shocking to see.
It does look a little wild.
1. All right, who is the very first on the list? You all saw it here, folks. David Smith. Congratulations, David Smith.
How'd you sort him again? By
email address. And his email starts with a 2. So that's why. The next one under him would have been Ace Run Pro. So if David Smith,
no Felix or Conrad.
Sorry, Felix and Conrad. If David Smith hadn't started his email address with a 2, it would have gone to A for Ace Run Pro. But no, instead, David Smith.
Thank you, David Smith.
You will. I will send your email to Terry Miller. We'll reach out to you to get all your email and mailing
Make
stuff.
sure we can double check your
get all of that to you. So congratulations, David Smith.
If you've won anytime recently, I say it all the time, do not hesitate to reach out to me to either make sure that I'm on it or that I have your right mailing address. That usually is the number one holdup, is that I don't have your mailing address whatsoever. So it may have gone to a spam or something of that nature, but I need to make sure that I have your right mailing address. Again, for a ton of our participants, I don't have any mailing address. It's one thing to have the wrong one and to waste $5 or $6 to send it to you just to have it come back. Yeah, that sucks, whatever. But if I have no mailing address to you, I absolutely can't send it to you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm not offended if you say, hey, where is it? Why hasn't this happened yet? Here's what I won on such and such date.
And I know there is 1 or 2 people that are looking for some older stuff from us that we're still looking for.
Yeah,
it's stored away, and I know Terry's.
Just know this is on me. 1 or 2 people that overseas had not gotten a Patreon disc from a particular year. Just know that in 300 or 400 bins or whatever I have Patreon discs. I've looked for them in time. They're not exactly, if you know me, you know they're not exactly categorized and or organized in the greatest fashion. So I continue, and every time I find a small section of the extra Patreon disc, I pull it out and I look at the year, and it's apparently not your year. Just know, I'm not trying to run or hide from giving you your Patreon.
I promise,
disc.
we're looking.
So thank you. I was reading Ray, who said it seems expensive to do the Euro scoring and DGPT same weekends. Seems expensive.
Scoring? I mean, I don't know what if you're talking about UDisc scoring, I don't know what UDisc charges the Pro Tour, and if it's per event, if it's for a season, and if that changes based on how many events there are. If that's what you're talking about, I don't know, as far as...
Or other events that maybe aren't part of those that just want to get on board with it.
Sure. I personally don't understand why an event, and Matt and Josh, you know I love you. I don't understand why like an event that isn't live broadcast would be on a UDisc live scoring. I don't understand the benefits to an event that isn't.
I just think overall notoriety.
I mean, it could be, but like
you're right there with
the Norwegian championships, for instance, this weekend. I was thinking this specifically this event. If it's not on, I mean, if you're looking for notoriety, if you want to be up there and people are like, oh wow, I wonder how that's doing. Sure, if your tour is on UDisc, I get it, and I think those guys are awesome, and putting your stuff on there is fun. But I just think of like all of the stats. If you're not gonna keep track of stats long term, I don't understand.
Well, maybe it's the beginning though of keeping track,
and maybe it is. I'm not saying
that's what I would think is, hey, I'm gonna host this event.
Is going to do it. But.
Well, or I just think like if I knew that I indefinitely hope to host the cold turkey for the next 10 years, and I explicitly always want to, for a sponsorship perspective, sponsor selling, whatever, mm-hmm. I want to explicitly say, hey, every single cold turkey is just always going to be forever archived and documented within that event. I understand what you're saying. It doesn't maybe feel like it would be worthwhile, but maybe there's just a notoriety and a leveling up that you feel then is associated with.
It's possible
with having it.
It's definitely possible. I think it just seems the stats seem wasted. Is what I'll say. Like, I completely understand Pro Tour, Finish Tour, PDPT. All that makes a ton of sense to me, and I think they should be on UDisc. Why you would put, like, just for instance, GMO or something weird like that, I'm like, that seems strange to me. But you know what? If you're looking to blow up your event and make it much bigger than it is in the future, maybe that's part of the plan.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
I won't fault anybody for doing it.
Yeah, you're a B tier 1 year, you have it on UDisc. The next year you're an A tier or a silver event, and then or maybe for a couple of years, and then you have those stats to then back up to say, hey, here's what we've been doing. Here's another way to show what you've been doing.
Which is really funny because we were talking this weekend as I was walking around the tournament, and you've got two PDGA live scorers. Mm-hmm. And they do backups, and we were kind of chatting about the statistics, and I had said it. They had asked, like, do you think the PDGA will ever get these kind of the UDisc stats? Because we were also keeping track of the Pro Tour, what was going on Saturday. And I said, I don't know if the PDGA really cares to have all those stats, like every putting stat. I know a lot of players just don't want to put that stuff in. They wouldn't take the time, and I feel like if you're not going to be a complete, maybe it's just me being a completionist. If you've got 25 events, 250 events in a weekend, whatever it is, and a third of them decide to do stats, or even of those, if all of them decide to do stats and only a third of the players decide to do the stats inside of those events, what's the point? So I just feel like that the detailed scoring isn't in the PDGA's future particularly. I don't think they necessarily have a reason to, because as I said, nobody cares at GMO what Scott Bertard's putting percentage was.
Yeah,
the scoring is one thing. Clearly, we want to keep scoring forever and ever. The history of that.
But if you look well outside of maybe our lifetime,
I'm living forever, Terry.
Those stats might be kind of cool in the sense that if they're collected and they continue to gain traction, it would be awesome that in 25 years you could look back and say, or by then maybe, you're seeing who's the best putter within the Wisconsin Tour, because all the Wisconsin Tour events did have the live scoring and then did keep the stats. I mean, just basically it's a microcosm.
Sure, but what does the PDGA care about that?
Well,
why would the PDGA?
They may not. Well, sure, because they're providing a service.
Yeah, but why would they take the time again?
But they're providing a service to get more people to use the PDGA's scorekeeping system, and therefore everything that's happening for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you have your stats, your standings, all the things that you have at the end of the year. Someone like the Wisconsin Tour, which has 25 or 30 events, at the end of the year, we could have all of our own awards, and we would have the PDGA as our reference point for those things. I'm not saying that I think it'll happen or that I'm excited about it or that it matters that much to me, but in 25 years, maybe it would.
I wouldn't be opposed to having it there. I just think that a lot of players would not and do not want to take the time to do the detailed stats. And I think that if you have, maybe you could make it optional where every player has the opportunity. You have 2 regular scorekeepers. What did Joe get? He got a 4. What did Scott get? He got a 3. What did Terry get? He got a 4. Whatever that is. And then if you want on the PDGA thing, you can go in for your 4 and detail your scoring. Maybe.
Even that's funny, though.
I mean, it adds a lot of weird complexities and issues that you have, but it just doesn't feel like... Now, if the PDGA runs out of things to do, tech-wise, sure, go ahead and build that. I think that they've got more important things on their plate, but it just, to me, I was trying to think of a reason why the PDGA would want detailed
other
scoring.
I wouldn't think they would necessarily need it as much as then it becomes a more viable service to keep people using their scoring app. And it might service you. Look at from a cost perspective. So my last thought on it of, let's say you're thinking about hosting a brand new league, and your league says, hey, should we do our scoring on UDisc or should we do our scoring on PDGA? And if the PDGA is viable and legitimate and does all of those things and allows you to do all those things, that might be enough to convince you to then also make it a PDGA sanctioned league as opposed to not. Again, just spitballing, and I don't know everyone's limitations currently or their future plans, but I'm just thinking about various reasons why you may or may not bother investing in that. And we have no idea if they're actually planning on doing that. But some thoughts.
People on the board talking about the submarine right now that is missing. They're to timestamp this as of right now. There's a submarine that went down with a bunch of rich people to look at the Titanic, and it went. Is this its very first trip?
I don't have any idea. I'm sure the internet's know way more than I do
but
as
anyway,
well.
it's I call it a submarine, but it's submersible that is vanished currently. They don't know where it is. They are looking for it. As of right now, I think they've got like 30 hours of air.
Yeah, 31 hours of air. That was a little while ago.
And they don't know where it is, and the ocean's a pretty big place.
If that's not your boldest statement of the night, the ocean's a pretty big place.
The ocean's a pretty big place.
It is. And I hadn't learned until just reading specifically here. I knew there were 5 people, but it says a Pakistani billionaire father and son, British explorer, French diver, and the company's CEO are the 5 members. But I knew there were 5.
Someone said this is not its first trip, though, which I guess would make me feel a little better, because if it's like its 12th trip and 12 trips went well and now trip number 13 is not going well, at least you know it wasn't the very first one that you took a risk on. But,
sure. Yeah. Best of luck to all of them.
Someone
obviously
said even if it's on the surface, there's no way to open it from the inside. Correct. It's like sealed from the outside. And so that basically you cannot open it from the inside at all, which seems a little tough now. But on the other hand, you don't know how people are going to react when they're underwater and panic. You wouldn't want someone panicking and opening it.
Yeah,
I hope everyone turns out okay, but if not, I hope it's something crazy like someone said, like a giant octopus ate them. Be crazy or be found.
Yeah, in other nautical news, we're talking fishes here in the open sea.
Talking fishes. Do we need to get Adam Hammis on if we're talking fishes?
Yeah, we're talking. Everybody was fishing in DDO this weekend. I swear, every other Instagram and Facebook story and post had somebody fishing and then showing off their fish and granted, fishing has very much become a very common thread within the Pro Tour, and it's great, fine, whatever. I'm not making any judgment. Just this weekend, there was a ton of fishing that a lot of people were posting about. But the one thing that I saw is there was some big contest for who could land the biggest fish or tuna or something or other, and some boat landed, I'm going to say a 651-pound tuna this weekend. They get it in, they go to weigh it, and the judges and the rest of the people back ashore say, "Oh no, sorry, this has been like bit by a shark. It's been attacked by a shark at some point. Therefore, your super heavy fish that took you 6 hours is disqualified." And then somebody who had like a 490 pound
rules are rules.
Yeah, and then the reason
because what could infect and swell up or something,
make it easier to catch. I think was the philosophy. Like if you have an injured fish, regardless of when it happened. The kicker though to this, as you say, rules are rules, and I agree. Even though I don't know all the intricacies, nor am I a lawyer, there was like a $3.5 million $3.5 million prize on this particular contest. That's why people care so much. Because these guys were saying no, we and they were gonna sue now and I don't. That's kind of a side note. It just happened to be a quirky story I saw today.
As I say,
but
rules are rules. Hopefully, you knew the rules going in.
You land a 650 plus pound fish that takes you 6 hours. You're pulling in to win this contest, and nope, shark took a bite out of that. Of course, like you said, rules are rules. That's what we are.
We're rule sticklers.
All right, I think we're gonna close it out.
Let's wrap this up.
Strike that website. Yep, that looks like everything. Hope you guys are all well. We appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. The regular show. Thank you to Parker. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters. Thank you to all the viewers and listeners, whether it's on the podcast apps or whether it's live on YouTube or in some sped up version here on YouTube after the fact, wherever it is. We appreciate it. Thank you for your support, and looking forward to another Disc Golf Pro Tour weekend. And this one's going to be in Des Moines, so it should be a good one. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's been Podcast After Show 460. We'll see you next week. You step inside the Smashbox.